Times KIP, 3 months later. Uchiha Clan Training Ground, Uchiha Clan Compound, Konohagakure no Sato. Clang, clang. Two katana collided with each other. Metal met metal, the noise that came from the collision of the two strips of steel was ominous. A 60 cm silver slash came towards the raven-haired boy. He cunningly parried the oncoming strike with his own black blade that made the other blade feel shy 10 cm shorter. Naruto Uchiha was smiling and struggling a bit at the same time. He wasn't using his Sharingan. True, he had sent clones to train alone while he faced Kasumi in a Kenjutsu spar. He needed to keep up his own training after all, and he was pretty sure that it would be sometime before Kasumi caught up to him. He didn't want to pressure her or anything. The last 5 months and nearly 3 weeks were the best moments of his life. Kasumi Uzumaki had been a diamond in the rough, one which he had clearly cut out. True, he could beat her hands down, if he activated his Sharingan and went full out, but she never had any real training until she started training with Naruto. Kasumi for her part was grinning like a mad scientist. It seemed that Kenjutsu was her personal cup of tea. Ginkan, in her hand, almost seemed to be gleaming with happiness. She too knew that Naruto was holding back. She could only imagine how strong he really was. I mean, it's not every day you meet someone who can suppress the powers of a Biju with his eyes, let alone something as fierce as the Kyuubi no Kitsune. She was very satisfied with her strength. Naruto once told her that if she kept going at the pace she is now, he feared to think what she would become 5 years later. Her Fuinjutsu was coming along way too nice if anything Naruto said was an indication. Her Fuinjutsu in level 2 was probably midway through, while Naruto was nearing the middle ground of level 6. Naruto guessed it must have been her Uzumaki blood that made her so proficient. Back to the matter at hand, Naruto was struggling to parry each move. Her Kenjutsu was undoubtedly deadlier than his, though that did not mean he would give up so easily. After a few more slashes and stabs, the both of them stopped their spar for the day. The weather was good and they had finished their D-ranked missions for the day. Although Kasumi was a bit more cheerful as they would finally get a break from their monotonous D-ranked Genin marathon. Naruto still had today's events roaming around his head as he sat down and sighed. He ran a hand through his spiky black hair, as he has let it grow out a bit again. He started remembering the incident that occurred today at the Hokage's office while they went for their mission report. By the author's command seal, I invoke a pointless and predictable flashback. Team 7 here report another successful D-ranked mission, Kakashi said with his constant lazy tone. He looked at his team who were visibly frustrated. Kakashi was enjoying this. He too remembered when Minato and his team would do D-ranks in the beginning. Though they were deployed for more dangerous missions outside as those were wartimes and the overall danger in the elemental nations was at an all-time high. We'd like to know the contents of the next D rank as soon as possible. No, the combined yell of Sasuke, Sakura and Kasumi came with a resonating quality. Naruto was simply standing there with a bored expression on his face. I really wanted another D rank mission. Shadow clones are much more useful and get the job done quickly. Naruto idly thought as he saw that Kasumi was about to blow a gasket. He did not dare say anything. She may be his girlfriend, but even he knew not to wake up a sleeping dragon. Especially, if it was the Orange Menace. Gigi, Kasumi exclaimed, I'm tired of all the stupid D ranks you keep handing out. Kasumi, Iruka yelled with his big head no jutsu activated. Show Hokage-sama the proper respect when you speak to him. Also, it's mandatory protocol for fresh Genin teams to perform D-ranked missions before their Junin-sensei even considers getting a higher ranked mission for them. Isn't that right, Kakashi-senpai? Iruka said, looking at Kakashi for some support. Kakashi looked up from his precious orange book of smut. He raised an eyebrow at the scarred Chunin. Oh, sorry. Did you say something? Iruka merely sighed and mentally slapped himself. He walked right into that one. Never mind, Iruka said as he started to speak up again. Long story short, unless your sensei feels that you are ready for a new mission, you have no choice but to stick with the D ranks. Yes, Sarutobi spoke up as took another breath from his pipe. The Sarutobi clan members were generally chain smokers. Hiruzen's father Sasuke always had a cigar on him somewhere. Hiruzen had his pipe and Asuma had his cigarettes. Konohamaru, whom Naruto and Kasumi had met a few months ago, was a child, so they were pretty sure he did not smoke, but there was a large chance he'd pick it up in the future. Now let's see what missions Iruka has got for you. This got the three Genin visibly annoyed. Kakashi reading his book while giggling at the same time, and Naruto was absent-mindedly thinking about taking Kasumi out on a date. Sure, they were a couple, kissing and cuddling was one of their most important tasks of the day, but he wanted to do something special. But where to take her? Let's see. We have painting fences, the help at clinic, cleaning out the kennels at the Inuzuka clan, and all of Iruka's words were doused out by a shrieking voice that undoubtedly belonged to a woman, a voice everyone here knew all too well. Come back to Ka-chan Tora. Me www. Or you could catch Tora again. Sarutobi added insult to injury. In all honesty, he was surprised by the amount of efficiency Team 7 had over the other genin teams. Did having one extra member change the dynamics of the teamwork so much? If so, then he'd have to change the standard genin regiment from now on. Hokage-sama, Naruto spoke up with a deadpan expression on his face. If that cat ever crosses my path again, I will murder it in cold blood and burn off its remains with my most powerful Kaden Jutsu, then I'll make the owner forget about her cat with my Sharingan. Now everybody was a bit stunned at Naruto's words. He was hailed as the tamer of Tora because he had done what no genin had ever done possible, but it seemed the cat from hell had broken past his limit just like with everybody else. If I may, Hokage-sama, Kakashi spoke with a lazy tone, I think that Team 7 are ready for AC rank mission. This added even more intrigue and even audible gasps into the situation. Senpai, Iruka exclaimed, you can't be serious. Ma Iruka, Kakashi waved off his hand. My cute little genin are more than ready for a simple C-rank mission. In fact, all the more experience for them. Are you sure, Kakashi? Sarutobi asked with a serious face as he had the pipe in his hand. Yes, Hokage-sama, Kakashi replied in a no-nonsense voice. Very well then, Sarutobi said and looked at Iruka. Give them a C-ranked mission. A beginner level 1. Hi Hokage-sama, Iruka said in a mumbling manner. You couldn't blame him, he had watched the kids in front of him grow up, so he was a little over-worried about them. He then took out a scroll and gave them a small brief about the mission. This an escort mission. You will have to escort the client to his home in Nami no Kuni. He is a bridge builder, you are expected to stay there and guard him until the bridge has been completed. It's fairly low ranked and shouldn't take more than a week. Will you accept this mission? Hi, Kakashi replied as he took the scroll and read the contents. His genin team was cheerful at the turn of events. Kasumi was squealing in joy, Sasuke was smirking, and Sakura was also happy that they were going up in the food chain. Naruto on the other hand was bored. Nami no Kuni didn't have any shinobi of their own and was a relatively peaceful place. There was no challenge there. Maybe a couple of lowlife bandits at best. If they were lucky they'd run into a stupid shinobi trying to make a name for himself. But there was also another reason he did not want to go there. His father Genjiro Uchiha had died trying to free the people of Nami no Kuni from Iwagakure forces during the early stages of the Third Great Ninja War. To this day, the Land of Waves recognizes him as the hero who liberated their country. Genjiro had also lost his life freeing the country, fighting off hundreds of enemy shinobi as he made sure that his kidnapped comrades could make it back. Naruto was having a painful moment remembering this. The darkening in his eyes did not go unnoticed by Kakashi, Iruka and Sarutobi. Bring the client in, Sarutobi said to the random Chunin number 1 who was standing by the door. He nodded and left the room. Sarutobi for his part had his eyes fixed on the young Uchiha prodigy. Sorry I couldn't resist. It seemed that Naruto was much more stronger than Sarutobi had guessed. He was already good without the Sharingan, and when he used it he was sure that Naruto could go toe-to-toe with some Junin. But why did he hide his skills? A part of Sarutobi told him that perhaps he was following his sensei Tobirama's way, but another part of him suspected Naruto. After all, decades of being a shinobi adjusts a person's mindset that way. Right now, he could see that Naruto was a bit troubled. He was going to Nami no Kuni, the place where his father's body was burned. This was the place from where the pressure on his family began. Hey Naru, Kasumi said while shaking Naruto out of his thoughts. Aren't you excited? We're finally getting a break from all those stupid chores. Yeah, Naruto replied with a fake smile. I know. Kasumi caught the subtle tone with which he spoke. She could tell when Naruto was lying or repressing his emotions. She just tightly gripped her hand on his. This was a subtle, we need to talk, signal. Then the gate opened and a man in his 50s entered the room. He had a bottle of sake in his hand. He wore glasses, a sleeveless brown shirt and a haori on top and gray pants. He also had gray spiky hair and a goatee. Clearly the man was a bit buzzed, but was lucid enough to speak his next words. Huh, Tazuna slurred as he looked at the genin. What is this? I asked for a team of shinobi and you gave me pinky frail girl, an orange-clad idiot girl, a duck-butt emo and... Tazuna stopped as he looked at Naruto, while the other genin were glaring daggers and Naruto himself was restraining Kasumi from causing another person to suffer a hemorrhage. You kinda seem familiar. Have I seen you before, kid? He asked as light drunk stain of pink was on his face. I'm afraid not, Naruto replied with a blank expression. I would have remembered someone if I met them. Looks like this is the only normal kid here. I asked for ninjas, not teenage upstarts. Tazuna slurred once more. Don't worry Tazuna-san, my team will be more than capable of handling the C-rank mission. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Tazuna grunted and left. Kakashi looked at his team and spoke, alright my cute little genin. We meet tomorrow at the eastern gate. Pack for a week, and we'll head out at 7 in the morning. You mean 10 right? Sakura asked wryly. Everyone had gotten used to Kakashi's bad habit by now. Seriously the man would show up late at his own funeral. I mean 7. Ya nay. Kakashi shunshined out of there as Team 7 made their way out. Say what do you think might happen on this mission? Sakura spoke up. Nothing much. Naruto replied. Shisui ni used to tell me that the biggest danger in beginner C-ranked missions are bandits. Sasuke grunted. Did Shisui always tell you about his missions? Not the ones he did while in Anbu. He said I'd have to be 100 years old before listening to those. Naruto said. He knew that there was a large chance of him joining the Anbu when the time came. So it's gonna be another boring mission. Kasumi whined as she now leaned on Naruto's shoulder. This caused him to smile lightly. Well, most genin teams don't get C ranks until it's been 6 months or so. I guess we're really lucky, in a way. Naruto said. Fine. Kasumi had some sort of gleam in her eyes. Wait, then I won't be able to go to Ichiraku's for a month. Let's go Naru. I need some ramen. She gripped Naruto's arm and disappeared in a trail-blazing speed. Naruto was suffering from whiplash. Ha ha ha. Sakura giggled a bit at Kasumi's antics. She had always found her to be annoying at class, but after 3 months she actually found some of her quirks funny. They make a cute couple don't they, Sasuke-kun? Sasuke scowled and frowned at the words Sakura said. He was still coming to terms with the fact that the council couldn't do anything about him wanting to marry Kasumi. She had openly declared that Naruto was her fiancé in front of them. He'd have to do something about that. He wanted Kasumi. He deserved a kunoichi like Kasumi. Those were his thoughts of course. I don't care. Sasuke walked away. Sasuke-kun, Sakura called out to her not-so-secret crush. He always seemed to be a bit angry when he saw Naruto and Kasumi having their moments. Naru, Kasumi called and saw that Naruto was doing his thing. The thing where he phased out. Giggling in her hands, she decided to mess with our raven-haired protagonist. She walked up to him and he met her gaze as she made the ram hand seal. She was grinning madly and Naruto paled. What the heck was she gonna do? Waroke no jutsu. A cloud of smoke covered Kasumi and Naruto was trying to wave off the smoke. When he did, his eyes jumped out of their sockets. A busty, blonde woman resembling an older Kasumi was on the ground in a seductive position wearing nothing but scanty clothes that barely covered her assets and her curves. She blew a kiss at Naruto. Naruto being the mature teenager he was did the only thing he could do. Phwish. Naruto shot back with blood rushing out of his nose. He had swirls in his eyes. He was lying on the ground while his right leg twitched frequently, as some drool came off the side of his mouth. He was giggling too. Naru's a pervert too, Kasumi mumbled as she picked up the knocked-out ninja. He was mumbling something about kinjutsu. She giggled at his unconscious rambles. A few minutes later, what happened? Naruto jumped up as the last thing he remembered was seeing heaven on earth. You passed out arrow Naru. Kasumi said with a cute pout on her face. I am not a pervert. Naruto said as he tried to defend himself. Besides, I only have eyes for you. Baka, Kasumi said as she sat down beside his beside. Soon enough, she pecked his lips and he kissed back while he put an arm around her waist. She too held his cheek as she melted into the kiss. You know, if this keeps up, we're eventually going to end up doing that. I know, Naruto said as his lips once more found the pink. supple lips of Kasumi. This time their tongues had entered the fray as they massaged each other. A small trail of saliva formed and disappeared after the kiss ended. But, I won't do it unless you want to. You mean too much. I'd rather wait than do something that might push you away. He pulled her into an embrace as her head was on his chest. Kasumi for her part was enjoying this as much as she could. She knew how much Naruto adored her. Also there was the fact that they might not be sleeping together for a week. She liked her teddy bear, a nickname that Naruto often groaned at. We should pack up a bit later. That way we'll have more free time today. Naruto as he slowly traced her cheeks with his hands and she purred. This was priceless. Stop it, Kasumi said with a blush. This was his way of teasing her. We are going to go at 10 right? Yup, Naruto replied. He'll start believing in a blood-worshipping god sooner than believe that Kakashi would be on time. Next morning, 10 feet o'clock, Eastern Gate entrance, Konohagakure no Sato. The four genin and Tazuna the builder of bridges waited for Kakashi to appear. And then, poof. Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. There was kite stuck in a tree so I climbed all the way up and then gave it to the kid. Then a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take the long way around and I got lost on the road of life. Kakashi gave the most reasonable and pathetic excuse in the history of humanity. Whatever. HN. Sigh. Quote. Is this a thing? Tazuna asked. Yes. All four genin replied at the same time. Always the same excuses. Naruto thought that Kakashi should liven up his excuses a bit more. Like I caught a pervert peeping at the hot springs or an S-ranked ninja appeared whom he had to fight quickly. Now those were excuses. Well, let's head out, Kakashi said, and soon enough the group of 6 had left. Outskirts of Hai no Kuni. Kakashi had finished explaining to Sakura why Wave has no shinobi of its own in the hidden village per country system. This was something that was not included in the academy curriculum, but the other 10,000 tons of bullshit was. Naruto scoffed as he remembered the days of the academy. Not only was it pointless, but it was also during this time he had effectively cut off all social ties with people. The phase when he had ignored Kasumi was the time he felt like he was the biggest jerk of the world. But she still gave him a chance. He really needed to do something to make her feel special. But what? I need some advice for this. Definitely not gonna ask Kakashi about this. I wish Itachi ni was here. He did have a girlfriend. Wait, how did he have a girlfriend? The very interesting thought in Naruto was broken off the moment he felt 3 chakra signature following them. They were probably low Chunin level. Naruto looked at Tazuna. Perhaps he had lied about the true nature of the mission. If Chunin were here, then this was clearly a B-ranked mission. Kakashi too had picked up the 3 people following them but did not show it. He wanted to see how this played out. Both he and Naruto noticed a small puddle near their path. A puddle in the middle of summer. Genjutsu. Both Naruto and Kakashi said as the events unfolded. Then a sharp chain broke out of the tree as 2 masked shinobi, with scratched Kurkagakure headbands, entrapped Kakashi with it and ripped him apart. Then a third figure appeared out of the trees. He too had mask, but he wore a purple outfit and a red mask covering his lower face. The 2 masked brothers then rushed for the bridge builder. Sakura stood in front of him with kunai in hand. Kasumi summoned 3 clones and attacked one of the masked fiends. She finally used a roundhouse kick to knock him out. Sasuke took on the other one and threw several shuriken at him before kicking him in the jaw. Both perpetrators were unconscious. The red masked one looked at the 2. To think Gozu and Maizu were defeated by mere genin. The man said. He saw that Kakashi came out of the bushes. Well, first the demon brothers and now Shinji Hayate. All B-ranked nuke nin coming for the mere bridge builder. Kakashi said as he looked at Tazuna, who was nervously sweating at the look the silver-haired Junin sent him. Sensei, Naruto said as he had a kunai in hand. If you don't mind. I'll take him. Of course, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Naruto was definitely a mid-B rank if their training exercise was any proof. Cocky aren't we, brag. Shinji felt the wind being lost as he saw a fist lodged into his stomach. You talk too much, Naruto said as he continued to beat down Shinji and then disarmed his tanto with a kunai before stabbing him in 6 different positions in his arms. He lost mobility and then Naruto kicked his chin with both feet. Honestly, who uses a puddle as genjutsu in the middle of summer? Oh wait, you idiots did. He came back and saw that Kasumi's arm had a small stab mark on it. He saw that the poison in her arm was leaking out, as a small orange-like bubble-like substance closed the wound. He still didn't let go of her arm though. Afterwards Kakashi learned the truth from Tazuna. Gato the business tycoon was apparently ruled Nami no Kuni with an iron fist. He oppressed the people and was driving the country into poverty. He killed people he didn't like, raped any woman he wanted, and most of all he was taking away their livelihood while taking up protection money from them. The first protocol was that they'd have to go back. Naruto however spoke up. Sensei. Naruto spoke up, if it's alright with you, I'd like for us to continue the mission. Naruto, I understand why you want to do this mission more than anyone. But the team's opinion matter as well. Kakashi said, we have to do it Kakashi-sensei. Kasumi spoke up with vigor. All those people being treated like that, they need our help. The Dobi is right, Sasuke said as Kasumi shot him a glare. I for want to go along with this. Yeah, Sakura said, who was unsure previously. Besides, we have you with us Kakashi-sensei. I'll go and find out what I can. Naruto said as he walked towards the demon brothers with his Sharingan activated. They were currently tied up with ninja wire on separate tree trunks. What the fuck do you want, kid? I'm not saying anything, Gozu said. Why don't you tell me that by looking me in the eyes, Zasu? Naruto said as Gozu looked and stared. Then Gozu started speaking to Naruto about the mission. Kakashi whistled at Naruto's action. He used a genjutsu to scrabble his mind. Kasumi had stars in her eyes after Kakashi explained it. Sakura learned about the Sharingan and Sasuke once more got annoyed at the proficiency with which Naruto used it. It seems we have another problem on our hands, Naruto said as he came back to the group. Zabuza Momochi is also under contract from Gato. Kakashi sighed hearing that. Who's Zabuza Momochi? Sakura and Kasumi asked. Sasuke was also interested but did not voice his question, he was too cool for that. An A-rank nuke nin. One of the members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Kakashi replied, we need to be on guard at all times now. The group kept on walking with Kasumi staying at the rear. Sasuke and Sakura on Tazuna's sides and Kakashi up front. Naruto had gone back to make sure that the 3 nuke nins don't escape and tightened their holds. Say Cyclops-san, Tazuna said, what did you mean? You know why that kid wanted to do this mission at all costs? Well, Kakashi said as he felt Naruto was not near enough to hear them. Nami no Kuni is important to him. His father had previously saved the country before all those years ago. So he has a personal reason to do this mission more than any of us. Wait, Tazuna said, his father saved the country. His father is Genjiro Uchiha. Yes, Tazuna-san, Kakashi said, he is Genjiro Uchiha's only living son. The group of genin simply stared at the shocked face of Tazuna. Kasumi herself did not know much about his parents. Naruto himself never met his father and rarely talked about his family. That man is the reason why Wave was free from Iwa. I still remember him from the days of the Third War. No wonder the kid looked a bit familiar. Tazuna said as he saw Naruto return. They won't be escaping anytime soon, sensei. Naruto said and saw Tazuna looking at him. Can I help you with something, Tazuna-san? No, it's just I never realized you were Genjiro-sama's son. Tazuna said with a grateful smile. I see, Naruto said as a narrow look crossed his face. Let's move on. He stood with Kasumi as the rear guard. Slowly so that no one could hear them. Naru, Kasumi said as she took his hand into her own, are you alright? Yeah, Naruto said as he looked at her. I'm fine, besides I have you to cheer me up. Baka, Kasumi said as she lightly kissed his cheek. Naruto Uchiha smiled and stared ahead. He was going to the land of waves. The place where his father fought his final battle and died. Slowly they made their way across and came to a river. They got on a boat. The boatman was risking his life to take them across the river. They finally witnessed the large, unfinished bridge that could be seen from afar. That looks great even in this state, Naruto said as he walked across the water, since there was no more space on the boat. Sasuke was merely staring at Naruto performing the feat as if it was nothing. Yeah, Tazuna said proudly as he looked at his baby. By the time I'm done all of Wave will be open to other countries so we can trade. I can't express how thankful I am to all of you. Tazuna said, don't worry Tazuna-san, we'll make sure that you get to finish your bridge. It really does look great. Sakura added her 2 cents. Sasuke said as he looked at it. What's so great, it's just a bridge. Yeah, that's how it starts. A bridge, then 2 more guys each build a bridge. Then another guy builds a bridge. Soon enough 3 more guys band together and make a bridge that becomes really popular. Soon enough everyone is making a bridge. Kasumi said, Naruto merely chuckled at what she said. I wonder how many of you got that bridge joke. They soon came to shore and there was a mist covering the entire forest. They got off the boat as the rower said he can't risk taking them any further without alerting Gato's thugs. The group of 6 are making their way across as both Naruto and Kakashi look around. Kasumi threw a kunai into the grass and went to inspect her victim. It was a bunny. Kasumi. Sakura yelled, "Don't scare us like that." Kasumi whined, "I was sure I saw someone there." Naruto and Kakashi merely looked at the white bunny. They were not supposed to be around here unless someone had. "Kawarimi. Get down." Both Kakashi and Naruto yelled. Kakashi grabbed Sakura and Sasuke, while Naruto tackled Kasumi and Tazuna. A great Zanbeitu world where their heads were previously positioned and then embedded itself onto a tree. A large muscular man with bandages over his body stood on the etched blade. The lower half of his face is covered. A scratched Kirihite 8 is on his forehead. His eyes were fixed on all of them as he sent them a menacing stare. Well, Zabuza Momochi's here. Fuck, Naruto said as he braced himself for the battle that was to come. He put a hand on his katana and was smiling. Looks like this might not be a boring mission after all. Forest outskirts of main town, Nami no Kuni. The 2 Junin class shinobi clashed. The mist that Zabuza had used to his advantage was paying off. Naruto knew that Kakashi would have an edge over Zabuza. Obito's Sharingan in Kakashi's right eye socket had saved his hide more times than he could count. Now, it was helping again as he fought off with the now rogue nin of Kurigakure. From what Naruto saw, the only edge Zabuza had was his swordplay in the mist that had always hugged this nation. Whatever Suiten jutsu he had could be countered easily by Kakashi and his Sharingan. But then again, not being one of the Uchiha clan causes immense strain on the person using the Sharingan. Judging by Kakashi's movements, Naruto could tell that the heritage factor was slowly starting to come in play here. Naruto, Kasumi, Sakura and Sasuke were guarding Tazuna in the Manji formation. He was on his guard the whole time. He could sense another chakra signature nearby and was confused by it. The signature seemed calm and restless at the same time. Oftentimes, it got near and then backed off. Was it just a bystander? No, the chakra level was definitely that of a shinobi. Naruto then Sasuke breaking his concentration from the formation and completely focus it on the fight. When Zabuza had unleashed his killing intent previously, Sasuke was the one who was hit by it the most. He had even opted to kill himself just to be rid of it. If Kakashi hadn't reassured Sasuke of his safety, he might have just gone through with it. As for Naruto, Zabuza's malicious intent was pale in comparison to Itachi's, and not to mention the Kyuubi, who despite being put to sleep by Naruto still made him worry to a great deal. Sakura seemed to be able to cope with the amount of killing intent surprisingly, and Kasumi too seemed okay if not a bit shaken. Naruto had often unleashed his own cruel intent during their training sessions, but it didn't work. She wasn't afraid of him, she feared his training methods but not him. He must be wondering where Kakashi ni got that Sharingan from. Then Naruto saw that Kakashi and Zabuza were near the lake. Soon enough, Zabuza's trick worked and the swordsman had trapped Kakashi in a water prison. Naruto gritted his teeth when his eyes witnessed the sight of their Junin sensei being imprisoned by the circular binding construct of water. The only way to break the water prison was to attack the person who was holding the prison. Zabuza then proceeded to make a Mizu Bunshin. A perfect copy of Zabuza made of the chakra-coated water from the lake appeared and slowly made his way across to the group. He was unleashing his killing intent once more. "Run!" Kakashi yelled from inside the sphere of water that jailed him. "Take the bridge builder with you and go." Naruto and others were tensed. Naruto knew that there really was no chance of escaping. The moment Kakashi was trapped, all their options came down to two: either fight or eventually die. Naruto had never fought an opponent of Zabuza's level before. Experience is one of the deadliest weapons that a shinobi can ever have, and Zabuza had plenty of it. "They're not going anywhere, Kakashi," Zabuza said with a murderous joy in his voice. Naruto then noticed that Sasuke rushed towards the water clone that was approaching them. Naruto tried to stop Sasuke but it failed as he saw the fireball being overpowered by Zabuza's Suiten Jutsu. Then he slammed Sasuke into the ground and stepped on his chest, grazing some ribs as Sasuke coughed up a bit of blood. "You kids think you're ninjas," Zabuza's clone stated. "Let me tell you this. Passing an exam does not make you ninja." Zabuza's clone looked at Sasuke with every intention of sending him to the afterlife. Wearing a headband does not make you a ninja. You become a ninja when your hands are stained with blood. Zabuza's clone gripped the executioner blade and brought it down on Sasuke. Thwack! The executioner blade could not kill Sasuke. Instead it met with a hard surface. The hard surface of a gunbai. Naruto had unsealed the gunbai from his wrist and had rushed towards Zabuza to make sure Sasuke would not be killed. The gunbai was truly living up to the promise it was made with. But Zabuza's strength would overpower Naruto's, and then the second linchpin of the plan came into play. A Fuma shuriken was whirled towards Zabuza, who dodged it. He saw that the blonde girl had aimed it right for his head. Naruto put his hand towards Sasuke, who accepted it and got up. "All right you guys," Naruto said as he also unsealed the kusa from his right hand. "Here's the plan." Naruto told them everything in a matter of seconds. "Why are you still here?" Kakashi said. "The moment I was caught this battle was over. Now go and protect the bridge builder. That is your mission, Kakashi-sensei," Kasumi said as a foxy grin spread across her face. "Those who abandon the rules are trash, but those who abandon their comrades are even worse than trash. We'll never forget those words, sensei." Kakashi felt some pride booming in his heart. Even while facing a deadly Junin with Zabuza's caliber, they decided to stay back. With Naruto's Sharingan and their teamwork, it just might be possible. Then Zabuza started laughing, quite hysterically. "That's cute," Zabuza said as he stopped laughing for a bit. "Even now you think that you'll get your way by playing ninja. Tell me something, do you know how we graduate in our village?" The Bloody Mist graduation. Naruto was the one who spoke, his eyes completely fixed on Zabuza's frame. "To become a ninja in the Bloody Mist village, you must kill all the students in your graduating class." Naruto finished as everyone around him with the exception of Zabuza and Kakashi gasped. It was a story Shisui used to tell him to scare him like that. Later on Naruto found out that it was no joke and it was a real incident. The three genin and bridge builder were absorbing the fact that something like this was an official exam. "Smart kid, looks like you know your history. But do you know how I graduated?" Zabuza asked hopefully. Naruto stayed silent, indicating that he did not. "Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist," Kakashi said. "So I take it you know the story, Kakashi. Go ahead, tell them," Zabuza said, and Kakashi looked towards Naruto, who nodded. Taking this as a sign that Naruto had a plan, Kakashi complied. Years ago the Yondaime Mizukage had made the death match the graduating exam in Kurigakure. In one of those exams a single child had emerged the victor. He killed over 100 of his classmates. He cut off their heads, stabbed their hearts, struck every vital point in the bodies. However, the child who had graduated was not even a part of that graduating class. He had strolled into the academy and killed them all mercilessly. The Mizukage himself discontinued this process after this child had done such a deed. He was called a demon hiding in the body of a child. He was Zabuza Momochi. It felt so good. Zabuza exclaimed with vigor. The genin seemed to be a bit put off with the proclamation he made. "When I was your age I was already lost in the rivers of blood I had created. You foolish children aren't ninjas. You will become a ninja when you have blood staining your hands. When you've hovered between life and death so many times it doesn't phase, that's when you have the essence of a true shinobi. When you've become so deadly that your profile has been entered into my bingo book, then you may have earned the title ninja." "Are you done?" Naruto said impassively, cutting off whatever Zabuza was going to say. "Or do you want a few more moments before you write your obituary? You insolent br." Zabuza was cut off once more as Kasumi spoke up this. She had her hand seals crossed as she began to speak. "Listen here, no eyebrows freak." Zabuza's eyebrow twitched while the other smirked at her words. "Put this entry in you ninja book. The one who's going to kick you ass here today, Ttibeo. Kasumi Uzumaki, the ninja who never gives up and will surpass all the Hokage." Kasumi's words supplied as a fuel as the others perked up. "Uzumaki," Zabuza said. "Haven't heard of them since the Crimson Death. Kushina Uzumaki. Then again you have a sword with you, so it's pretty natural. Bring it, brats." Naruto and Kasumi picked up on his words for a second. Kushina Uzumaki. Just a moment later, Kasumi made several Kage Bunshin appear and rushed them towards Zabuza. "Shadow clones, quite a lot of them too," Zabuza said, "but completely useless." Zabuza's clone used the giant Zanbeitu to get rid of all the clones, but then had to block a hit from the gunbai that rushed towards him. It was Naruto, a kid using a gunbai. Zabuza's clone said as he brought down his executioner blade, blocked by the gunbai. You're in the wrong age, kid. Speak for yourself, Naruto said as he activated his fully matured Sharingan. Zabuza's clone jumped back, but Naruto was relentlessly attacking him, only drawing a stalemate. Even with the Sharingan, you're not going to win, kid, Zabuza said, and he saw that Naruto was attacking him with the Kusa from a distance. He had a chain mail attached to his arm. You're smart, but you're gonna need more than that to beat me. Much to his surprise, Naruto made a single hand seal of the tiger and breathed in air. Kaden, Gukaku no Jutsu. A large orange fireball exhaled from Naruto's mouth and hit the clone dead straight. The clone immediately dispelled as the water that made its body stained the ground where they fought. Not bad, kid, but Zabuza was going to make more water clones. Suddenly he heard two more yells. Kaden, Gukaku no Jutsu. Futon, Datopa. The fireball emitted by Sasuke was enhanced by Kasumi's wind jutsu as it went straight for Zabuza. He had no choice but to leave Kakashi's water prison jutsu and dodged the enhanced combination jutsu. He was cursing his luck and his arrogance. The whole fight with the water clone was a ruse. They were aiming for my real body the whole time, Zabuza thought as he looked at Naruto, who resealed his weapons and disappeared in a smokeless shunshin. He appeared near his team and they were in formation once more. Zabuza had picked up on the shunshin and remembered a certain former comrade's tale. Hey Uchiha brat, Zabuza said as he took the Zanbeitu in his hand, you wouldn't happen to know a Shisui Uchiha, would you? He was my brother, Naruto calmly replied. Zabuza looked a bit more interested in him now. Well, Shisui the teleporter had a little brother. Looks like he taught you his little trick as well. Zabuza then lunged towards the group with the executioner blade. Naruto and Kasumi had their hands on their respective katana, ready to parry his move. But let's how good you are against the real me. Clang. Kakashi had reappeared in front of Zabuza and tried to hit him with the kunai, and Zabuza blocked it with his Zanbeitu. I think your fight is with me, Zabuza. Both shinobi backed away from each other a bit. Good work, team. Now leave the rest to me. Both Junin-level shinobi then rushed towards the lake and began to fight on the surface of the water. First they engaged each other in some taijutsu before resorting to their weapons once more. Finally, both of them distanced themselves from each other as Zabuza started going through hand seals. Soon enough, Kakashi started going through hand seals, the same that Zabuza was doing, and Naruto was watching every move with his Sharingan. Finally, after 42 hand seals, the two shinobi simultaneously stopped at the bird hand seal. Suryuden no Jutsu. The water surrounding the two shinobi locked in combat began to swirl and twist violently. The water took the shape of two water dragons emerging on opposite sides as they clashed against each other, and they both negated each other perfectly. Kakashi had just given Zabuza a taste of what the Sharingan was capable of. He could feel someone else looking at him and saw that Naruto's Sharingan was staring at him. Zabuza saw the three tomo in his eyes spin as he felt the sky grow darker, and out of the water a very thin man emerged. He was exceptionally tall and he had no face, hair or hands. He wore a cloak and his face was pure white. Black smoky tentacles began to emerge from his cloak and were rushing towards Zabuza. The brat caught me in a genjutsu. Zabuza immediately spiked his chakra levels. Just as the sharp projections were about to strike, the illusion shattered and he was facing Kakashi once more. Zabuza was panting a bit. Not only did he have to fight Kakashi, but he made the one mistake he should never have done. He stared at an Uchiha's eyes. I've got to get away from this place, Kakashi said as he looked at Zabuza, whose eyes widened. What did you say? Zabuza yelled. You heard me, Kakashi said as his Sharingan eye pierced the swordsman's frame. Damn you, Kakashi, Zabuza said, and he started going through more hand seals. Kakashi too had started going through the same hand seals. You can't be at me, Kakashi said it at the same time as Zabuza, who was shocked. You're just a copycat. Both said it at the same time. Stop copying me, you worthless ape. Again they resonated at the same time. This time Zabuza actually saw a reflection of himself standing behind Kakashi as the copy ninja's hand seal speeds increased. Zabuza was shaken to his core as Kakashi surpassed the hand seal stage he was at. What, is he finishing my own jutsu? Zabuza thought. Before me, Kakashi said as Zabuza saw the tomo spin wildly once more. This is the end. Suryuden Daibikufu no Jutsu. The water began to thrust violently once more as it rose several meters high. Then it streamed down towards Zabuza in one big cascade, much like a gigantic waterfall. It hit Zabuza straight on as he was dragged back by the jutsu. He crashed through 3 trees due to the sheer force of the jutsu. It also destroyed some parts of the forest around it as well, making the scene look like a natural disaster. Zabuza groggily got up. He couldn't believe what happened. True, he had gotten rusty over the years, but this was outright ridiculous. He saw Kakashi emerge once more. Zabuza could only ask one thing. That eye, does it show you the future? Zabuza asked. Yes, Kakashi said, it shows your death. As if on cue, Senbons were thrown out of the trees and struck Zabuza in his neck and several other spots. Kakashi braced himself and saw that a hunter came into the destroyed clearing. He seemed really young. If Kakashi was right, then he must have been around the same age as his genin. However, Kakashi also knew that age and skill do not matter. He, Itachi, Shisui and his own sensei were example of that feat. Kakashi had become a Junin years before his fellow comrades. The boy must have been strong. Kakashi saw that his entire troop had arrived and Naruto had deactivated his Sharingan. Naruto looked at the hunter Nin, coming to the conclusion that this person was the chakra signature he felt. Thank you for weakening Zabuza. I've been hunting this one for quite some time, the hunter Nin said. Sakura was asking who that person was and Naruto gave a quick explanation as to who that person was. Kakashi went forward to check whether Zabuza's body had a pulse. Naruto saw that Kakashi himself was walking a bit groggily and was tired. Then Kakashi came back, and Naruto raised an eyebrow at the hunter Nin's actions. He picked up Zabuza's body. Standard protocol stated that only the head was required. Hunter-san, Naruto said as he looked at them. Why are you taking the body? Zabuza's body has many secrets that Kurigakure needs. Hence the whole body is required. The hunter Nin replied. Zabuza hasn't displayed any Kekkei Genkai abilities. I don't see the need for you take his whole. Naruto couldn't finish as the hunter Nin disappeared in a shunshin. Naruto sighed. He tried to sense them. The hunter Nin did a good job at suppressing his chakra. Naruto realized what just happened. Oh shit, Naruto said. I should have realized it earlier. Something wrong, Naruto? Kakashi asked as he made his Hite 8 cover his left eye. His entire body was tired. Kakashi too had gotten lax over the years. He had not used the Sharingan in quite some time. The effect was far more devastating than he thought it would be. The hunter Nin was a fake. He used Senbon needles instead of cutting off the head and taking it with him. Naruto said, and Kakashi had realization dawning on him. Ah, Senbon needles. They cut off the pulse. Kakashi said as he sat down. Looks like one of you will have to carry me. Naruto immediately made 2 shadow clones as they carried Kakashi, making sure they don't pull of anything too youthful to his taste. What happened to him, Naru? Kasumi asked as she neared Naruto, who had an annoyed expression on his face. Chakra exhaustion, Naruto replied as he saw Kasumi. Using the Sharingan takes up a lot of chakra. Since he's not part of the Uchiha clan, it takes a great amount of stress on his body. Sasuke said, he shouldn't use something that doesn't belong to him. He should give it back to the Uchiha clan. Naruto stared at Sasuke for some time. Sasuke-san, there's a time and place for everything. And then there are situations where things happen beyond our control. Kakashi-sensei was given that Sharingan from its original user to use it. As far as the ownership of that Sharingan is concerned, Sensei has proven himself to be more than worthy and capable of using our Kekkei Genkai. Naruto, you, Sasuke said as he tried to say something before Kasumi stood in front of Naruto glaring at Sasuke. Back off, Tem, Kasumi said. Right now we need to get somewhere safe. Kasumi's right, Sasuke-kun, Sakura said. Tazuna-san, how far are we from your home? Not that far. It should take us half an hour if we walk normally. Tazuna said, and the group walked off. Naruto could still feel Sasuke's light glare on him. He didn't care anymore. Sasuke needed to get off that high horse before someone kicked him down. And if Sasuke was like the atypical Uchiha, then he'd take that blow quite seriously. Naruto himself had something to take care of while in Wave. Half an hour later, a very random hideout, Nami no Kuni. I really can't see Haku as a dude, so he's going to be a chick. I wrote he above because Haku was fooling them by lacing his throat with chakra to give a difference vocal output. Damn it, Haku, Zabuza said as a beautiful girl plucked out the Senbon needles out of his body. You didn't need to hit me with so many needles. Oh, and don't yank it out like that. He yelled in pain. Sorry, Zabuza-sama, Haku said with a smile. Haku was a beautiful teenager girl with waist-length raven hair. She had a pale complexion and a thin frame. Well suited for assassination missions. Still, this will take some time to heal. I think at least 2 weeks. Damn it, I'll kill Kakashi the next time I see him. And that kid, Zabuza said as he remembered Naruto. He was wild card. He had never seen a 5-man cell before, and now he understood why this team had 4 genin instead of the normal 3. That kid will prove to be a problem. I might need extra help. Are you sure, Zabuza-sama? Haku asked. Right now, there was only one former comrade that Zabuza was in contact with, and Haku did not like him at all. Yeah, Zabuza said as he gritted his sharp teeth, a trait he shared with many of the shinobi from Kurigakure and in particular the 7 ninja swordsmen. 4 hours later, Tazuna's house, Nami no Kuni. This is going to be quite troublesome indeed, Kakashi said in such a lazy manner that members of the Nara clan would be outright jealous. Kakashi had woken up in a room he did not know and assumed this was Tazuna's house. Soon enough a young, beautiful woman by the name of Tsunami entered. She told him the team was waiting below and he requested her to send them up. Well, the good news is that we have some time on our hands before Zabuza and the Hunter Nin return. Probably 2 weeks or less depending on his injuries. Sensei, time for what? Sakura asked. She was really at her wit's end and no one could blame her. AC rank mission had just turned a rank due to the appearance of a certain Kurigakure shinobi. Now there was the Hunter Nin to worry about as well. Well, just enough time for you guys to increase your chakra reserves, Kakashi said. He then looked at Naruto and Kasumi. How far are you on tree walking? Well, we finished water walking, Kasumi said with an infectious grin. Naruto merely nodded. Sensei, if it's alright with you, we'd like to continue our normal training regiment, Naruto said. Yes, you can do that, Naruto, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Naruto mentally made a note to learn that. It was freaky in every sense of the word, hence useful. But Sensei, Sakura said with some tone of fear, you were barely able to defeat Zabuza last time. What can we do against him and the Hunter Nin? True, but tell me this, Sakura. After Zabuza imprisoned me, who fought Zabuza and protected the client? Kakashi asked. All of you did that. I'm sure that all of you will improve in the necessary sense. But Sensei, I didn't do anything, Sakura said with a downcast tone. Naruto, Kasumi and Sasuke did everything. But I guess it's to be expected. I'm not from any clan or something. Oi Sakura, Kasumi said with determination in her voice. Don't go around saying things like that. So what if you're not from a clan? I didn't even know I had a clan and I improved. Besides, you were a better student than me. You're gonna do just fine, Ibeo, Kasumi said, and Sakura smiled a bit. Over the last 3 months, Sakura and Kasumi had become friends. Though they still had some petty arguments, but all was well. Sasuke said with a displeased tone. Naruto understood because he too was well versed in Sumi's right, Sakura, Naruto said. For example, the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze wasn't from a clan, but look at what he did. He became the 4th Hokage and single-handedly took out 1,000 Iwa shinobi by himself. He's still considered the fastest shinobi in history. Sugoi, Kasumi said with stars in her eyes. I didn't know that. Sometimes I wonder why you chose the Yondaime as your role model. Sumi, Naruto said in a deadpan expression. Kasumi laughed with an embarrassed manner and Kakashi chuckled, for reasons known to himself. With that said, Team 7 proceeded to go downstairs after Tsunami had called them in for lunch. They went downstairs and had lunch. They learned about the situation in Nami a bit more. The entire country was shithole for the lack of a better term. The group had seen the poverty-stricken area and wanted to free the nation. Though Naruto had a much more larger obligation than the others. They also met the ever-emo son of Tsunami, who seemed a bit hostile towards the group of ninjas, but didn't voice any of his opinions because of his mother probably. Naruto did not pay much attention. His mind was fixated on a certain place. He'd go to said place tomorrow. It was imperative that he went there. Right now he needed to rest. He had shared his room with Sasuke and Kakashi, while Kasumi had shared a room with Sakura. Though that did not stop the two from meeting on the roof. Both of them were lying on the roof right now. Side by side, they lied as their eyes got lost in the path of stars that shone in the sky. Naru, Kasumi said as she looked at her boyfriend. Is something wrong? What do you mean? Naruto asked. Ever since we learned that the mission was in wave, you seem to be a bit down, Kasumi said. Then with as much courage she could muster, She asked the question that bugged her mind. Is it because of your father? Silence ensued. Naruto was still impassively staring out into the nighttime sky. It was moments like these he remembered his mom. The would just sit outside in the garden. Satsuki Uchiha would lay a blanket out on the grass and lie there. Naruto would accompany her and talk away for hours until he fell asleep. Then his mom would gently pick him up and take him to his room. Or if he was really clingy at time, sleep in her room. Then Shisui would tease him about being a mama's boy. This would result in Satsuki threatening her elder son with so many painful promises. Shisui would immediately have a 180 change in personality. Of course, Satsuki would also call him by his nickname, Little Shishi. How Naruto would tease Shisui about that. Unknowingly a tear had escaped the corners of his eyes, as he remembered his mother and brother. They were gone. His entire family was gone. His brother had died at Kanabi Bridge. His father had fought and died in Nami no Kuni. This was the very same Nami no Kuni. The entire berating and ostracizing of his family began from this place. Don't get him wrong. He did not hate the country, but he was not particularly fond of it either. Seeing the state of this country had affected him more than he thought. His father had given his life to protect his comrades and save the lives of these people. Now, he felt like that the very memory of his father was being spit upon by the one named Gato. Naru, Kasumi said as she saw the tears leaking out. I'm sorry, it was stupid, I should leave. Kasumi got up and started rushing away. She had made Naruto cry. She felt like a horrible person now. But she couldn't leave. Two very familiar arms had wrapped around her body. One around her neck and the other around her abdomen. Naruto had hugged her from behind and was clutching her. They sat down once more as her back was firmly attached to his chest. Slowly their bodies began to relax as a sheer sense of warmth flooded their senses. She turned around and put her head on his chest, leaning against it as if it was the most natural impulse in the world. I'm sorry, Naruto said, it's just, this was the very same place my father died. I never told you that. It was during the Third Great Ninja War, and Iwa had overtaken this place. My father was given orders to destroy the place. A portion of his troops were held as hostages along with the people of this country. He broke the rules and chose their lives over the mission. As a result, he saved them, but Iwa forces managed to escape and made their new plans centered around the Kanabi Bridge. He had died fighting them off. Naruto hesitated for a second. He did not like talking about that moment. But he needed to get it off his chest. He wasn't even buried properly. His body was burned so that no one could benefit from his dead body. My entire family was berated after then, and everyone always seemed to say nothing but bad things about us. It all started because he valued the lives of others over a war. So I have an obligation to this place. My father gave his life here and I for one can't let it rot like this. After he finished, he once more felt the soft lips of Kasumi embracing his own. This was a more different kiss. It felt uplifting, just a simple kiss of their lips connecting with each other. He held her body tightly. She too had pressed herself. I understand, Naru, Kasumi said as she looked at Naruto with her violet eyes. Naruto was running a hand through her hair. Your father was a hero, nothing can change that. She once more found the chest of her love. Yes, she could say that without any hesitation. Arigato Sumi, Naruto said as he kissed the top of her head. There's somewhere I need to go tomorrow. Will you go with me? Of course, Kasumi replied. They stayed like that for a couple of more minutes before Naruto suggested that they leave to get some rest. Naruto felt the fatigue of his body taking over as he immediately fell asleep. The next day, Naruto and Kasumi had began their training, while Kakashi was teaching Sakura and Sakura tree walking. Much like he predicted, Sakura had done it in one go. He was not surprised. She had small chakra reserves, but her control was perfect. She would be a perfect medic nin for their team. Naruto mentally noted that he would tell her this after they go back to the village. Naruto and Kasumi were practicing kenjutsu with their katana. Hitokiri and Ginken were furiously clashing with each other. The two blades forged by Muramasa Seijuro tried to cut each other. The styles that the two represented were quite diverse as well. Kasumi's attacks were based on very powerful strikes. Of course she had fast attacks too. Naruto guessed that by the time she learned how to channel her chakra she would be lethal in the art. Her style sent by Muramasa was called Shinton Ido Ryu, the one-sword style of heaven. Naruto's sword style depended on quick strikes at vital organs. In short, the techniques were made for one purpose, killing. His style was called Kasatsu Ito Ryu, the one-sword style of life or death. Naruto had seen the benefits for the style and saw that it fitted him perfectly. He kept sparring with Kasumi while he sent some clones to practice with the gunbai and the KUSA. Naruto was making his own style with the gunbai. He had yet to come up with a name for it, but most of it was based on Fudan attacks. One thing was for certain, he was born to battle with a gunbai, and handling Shikyo came naturally to him. Today was an off day for Tazuna, so no going to the bridge for today. Suddenly Sasuke appeared before them and Naruto sighed. "Naruto," Sasuke said, "what was that weapon used to fight Zabuza with?" "You mean the gunbai?" Naruto asked and Sasuke nodded. He knew what a KUSA was. "It's war fan. It used to be used during the days of the warring states." "Why do you ask?" "I need it," Sasuke said. "Excuse me," Naruto said. "What do you mean by that?" "The gunbai. I need it. I need to get stronger. Stronger to kill him," Sasuke said. "I saw the way. You use the gunbai and its uses. Give it to me. Buy your own gunbai," Naruto said. "If you want one, go to the Higurashi weapons store and order one. This one was made specifically for me." "So sorry," I said. "I need it," Sasuke said. "I'm from the main house. I am ordering you as clan head to give me." "Whoa," Naruto said while raising his hand. "You're not clan head. Not until you're a Junin or you've proven yourself capable of that feat. And don't think about pulling a main house and branch clan card. We both know all those shenanigans are useless. And besides, you couldn't use my gunbai even if you wanted to." "What?" Sasuke yelled. "Are you telling me that I, a pureblood Uchiha, can't handle a fan?" He then saw Naruto, clone, come in with Shikyo in hand. "Fine then, prove me wrong." Naruto took the gunbai in one hand and placed it on the ground, making it stand vertically upward. "Take it and lift it." Sasuke gripped the handle and felt some of his chakra being drained. He tried to lift it but could not. It was so heavy. Then Naruto picked it up. The gunbai is made from a sacred tree. It consumes a certain amount of chakra upon contact. If you do not have the right amount and perfect control, you can never use it. Personally speaking, I don't think a gunbai would fit you. You seem more of a Chikudo wielder. It'll suit your style better. Now if you'll excuse me," Naruto said and walked, felt like pulling a kunai on Naruto after that. How dare he insult Sasuke like that? He needed to get stronger and Naruto was miles ahead of him. Kasumi too was ahead of him by little, he knew that. She had awakened her bloodline, whereas Sasuke did not. He needed to kill Itachi Uchiha and restore the Uchiha clan. Kasumi Uzumaki in his eyes was the perfect matriarch. He had to get these two things done. Naruto was turning out to be a pain. Dusk, near the main town. Two figures walked side by side. Naruto and Kasumi were slowly walking towards a certain clearing in the main town. Finally, after several minutes of silence, they reached a park. Kasumi was walking with him and finally decided to break the silence. "Naru," Kasumi said as one of her arms was wrapped around Naruto's, "where exactly are we going?" "You'll find out in a couple of minutes," Naruto said. His eyes were completely focused. It seemed that the park around them was still in a fairly good condition. Shisui had told him about this place many times. A great memento of their family was situated here in the park of Nami no Kuni. He was walking towards the designated location. He had made a mental map of inside his mind. Then Naruto saw it. Insert music. Dark Souls, Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. A great white tree. The leaves of it had withered away and died. There was not a single leaf on the branch. However, the tree seemed so beautiful in his eyes. It was a shade of white he had never seen before. The branches of the tree spread out like a web that created menacing shadows on the ground below. Then at the foot of the tree was a small wooden shrine. So small that only puppies or kittens could fit in it. Inside the shrine there were 3 gray stones. Each stone had rusted kunai on them. They were attached by a string. There were some words etched on the stone in the middle, which was the largest of the 3. Here in this very spot where the great white tree has grown, is the very same place where Genjiro Uchiha's body was cremated. He risked the mission to free the people of Nami no Kuni. He had fought off the enemies and made this country free, and in the end he gave his life. This shrine here represents the bravery and sacrifice that Genjiro Uchiha, from Konohagakure no Sato, made. He is and always will be known as the liberator of the land of waves. May he rest in peace, and Kami bless his soul and his family. Naruto sat down on his knees in front of the shrine. This was it. The same place Shisui had told him about. The one place that his father's actions were honored. A small tribute the common people made for him and respected him. Naruto had so many emotions going through his mind right now. All the visions of his father that his mother had shown him were flashing before his eyes. He was picturing the man who resembled his elder brother Shisui so much, it was terrifying. The kindness that his father held, a trait that Satsuki said was passed on to each of his sons. This was a very important part of Naruto's life. This was where the last remains of his father remained. He clenched some dirt and put it in his pocket. He would treasure this mere dirt from this ground. The ground which was witness to his father's passing. He would finally get some emotional closure here. He closed his eyes and started to pray to Kami. Kasumi didn't say anything. She merely sat down beside her Naru and joined him in a prayer. After a few moments, both finished offering their prayers and Naruto spoke. Tears filled his eyes as he said his first words to the departing ground of his father. "Hey there, I'm Naruto, your youngest son. It's nice to meet you. Too-san." 10 days later, Zabuza's hideout, Nami no Kuni. Zabuza Momochi was many things. He was ruthless. He was a seasoned killer. Above all, he had his pride as a shinobi. A master of the silent killing technique, Zabuza had often prided himself over the fact that he was one of the better shinobi of his generation. As a child, he had a peaceful life, if one could call a mass-murdering child a normal one. However, ever since the bloodline purges began, Zabuza had been put in a bind. Several of his comrades had been killed because of the Yondaime Mizukage Yagura's growing madness. He too had killed several Kekkei Genkei users. He had even killed a large number of Yuki clan members. During one of his missions, his unit had killed a pregnant woman and her 7-year-old son. There was a witness to all this. A girl no older than 3 had seen her mother and brother cut down in front of her eyes. Instead of killing the child, Zabuza took her in and raised her to be his tool, while getting rid of the others who were with him. For reasons known to himself, Zabuza, like many other of his peers, revolted against the Yondaime Mizukage and had attempted several assassinations on his life. It had failed. He then went rogue, collecting funds for the rebellion. For years to come he would take any wet work, no matter what the situation was. No ideals, no greater glory. Simply blood and the payment he got for it. He had worked for many a scum and didn't complain. He had taken in the girl named Haku and made her keep up the ruse of the hunter Nin. All was going well. If things at the pace it was, he would soon be joining the war. However, that pride over his skills that he had built through all those years with blood, sweat and tears had been scarred 10 days ago. Kakashi Hatake was famous for a reason. His mastery with the Sharingan was such that his skills would shame many pure-blooded Uchiha. In a single battle, Kakashi had defeated him and showed that Zabuza's skills had diminished over the years. The demon of the hidden mist had lost his devilish drive. Zabuza could have swallowed the defeat at the hands of Kakashi. The man had over 1,000 jutsu in his arsenal and was one of the people responsible for the destruction of the Kanobi Bridge, the event that was a major turning point in the Third Great Ninja War. No, Zabuza was furious that he had been one-upped by a genin. That Uchiha brat. Zabuza scowled as he slashed the air around him in fury as he remembered the genin. True, he was an Uchiha with a fully matured Sharingan. The last time this happened, those shinobi came to be known as Shisui the Teleporter and Itachi the Clan Slayer. Both were shinobi who had earned the respect of the Zanbeitu-wielding ex-Kiri shinobi. But to think that a brat had outsmarted him and then caught him in a genjutsu, that had caused him to use a significant amount of chakra during his battle with Kakashi, was appalling to him. A genin ensuring the defeat of a shinobi who was a part of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Lies, folly, madness. The only conclusion that any rational-minded shinobi could come to. But Zabuza knew better. The brat was the younger brother of Shisui and had proved that to some extent. But that did not stop Zabuza from blowing a gasket as he remembered the gunbai-wielding genin. He didn't even learn the brat's name. Zabuza had to kill Gato. He needed the money, so Zabuza knew that while he took care of Kakashi, Haku would have to take care of the genin brats. The only pain in this ordeal was said Uchiha brat, who was a wild card in this situation. A 5-man cell certainly changed things. Zabuza knew that the brat would meddle with the upcoming battle. Zabuza was healed, but he needed 3 or 4 more days before he could be back in proper shape. He needed someone else to keep the brat busy as he would carry out his dirty deeds. And soon enough, that someone had arrived. So Zabuza-san, the person in the shadows sitting idly, said, How much more time do you need? Shut up, Zabuza said. He was trying his best to keep his cool. I don't see what you're complaining about, you only arrived a few hours ago. Yet, you already act like you're tired. Sorry. The voice replied back as the owner of the calm voice lied down. His bandaged sword lying beside him. It's just I really want to see the kid who gave you a hard time. Keep talking like that and I might just do you in. Zabuza said. Perhaps we shouldn't have called him Zabuza-sama. Haku said. He is careless at times. I can hear that. The person in opinion replied. Besides, you shouldn't underestimate me like that, Haku-chan. I am one of the 7 ninja swordsmen after all. The man said as he closed his eyes. He was completely calm. He knew that Zabuza wouldn't have contacted him unless it was absolutely necessary. He was a bit perked up by this. He had to avoid a fight with a certain snake a few days ago and this seemed like a good way to relax a bit. Tezuna's house, Nami no Kuni. 8 people were sitting at a table. They were peacefully enjoying their meal. Well, as peacefully as they could. The risk of death had been looming over their heads. Kakashi had been monitoring the progress of his genin so far. Naruto was by far the most unnatural genin he had ever seen. He almost reminded him of Itachi and Shisui too much. A true genius. He had hidden his skills long enough and was a true ninja. He had employed deception and convinced the entire world. He was merely a member of the Uchiha clan's branch side. Though when Kakashi thought about it, the branch clan itself had boasted quite a large amount of great shinobi themselves. Kagami Uchiha, the heir of fire, one of the most revered shinobi from the first great ninja war, was considered to be the most powerful Uchiha to come into the clan since the days of Madara Uchiha. He was considered to be the one of the finest squadron-killing shinobi that ever came to be and was generally regarded to be one of the few who rivaled Hiruzen Sarutobi along with Hanzo the Salamander, the third Raikage and Onoki the Fence-Sitter. As such, he was considered a living legend. However, his status as a branch member was something that caused the main house to even feel more insecure about them, to create a greater divide between the two houses. Then his own son Genjiro Uchiha proved that he was a strong shinobi that should never be trifled with. His fire affinity was considered borderline insane and was appropriately dubbed the Lord of Cinder, leaving nothing but ashes in his wake and the charred bodies of his enemies if you had invoked his wrath. His power was such that Hiruzen Sarutobi had considered making him one of the possible candidates for the position of the 4th Hokage, to not only improve clan relations with the village but also to dissipate the invisible border of prejudice between the main and branch houses. His wife Satsuki was called the Queen of Cruelty. Her genjutsu abilities were thought to be impossible sometimes. The thin line between reality and illusions became blurred once she activated her Sharingan. Many a shinobi avoided her due to the fact that one could not stare away from her face, which exuded a natural drawing beauty, and by extension people would stare at her eyes, the last sight so many dead shinobi had seen. Of course, it was a shame that she had contracted an incurable disease that caused her to die, leaving behind 2 sons that would grow up beautifully. Then the sons of Genjiro and Satsuki Uchiha, Obito, considered a dead last in every term, had surprised everyone after him becoming a genin. His growth was commendable, but his chakra control was horrible. But still, Obito had proven he was worthy of the blood in his veins, even in his dying moments. He was a manifestation of the will of fire, and even now his comrades toast a drink to his immortalized act of selflessness that triggered the beginning of the end of the Third Great Ninja War. While there would be no songs about him, he would be remembered by those who were there in the war. His younger brother Shisui Uchiha, the teleporter, a prodigy that rivaled Itachi, or perhaps even surpassed him in ways that could not be measured by normal shinobi skills, he was considered to be one of the next possible elite shinobi that would usher in a new era. However, his untimely and mysterious death had halted that as well. His proficiency with the body flicker technique was such that people assumed he used a jutsu similar to the Hiraishin. Shisui could leave afterimages in his wake with his speed. He could cast genjutsu at a long range and had a larger than normal fire affinity. He was considered a balance between his parents and a true prodigy. Naruto, however, had hidden his skills for years. Kakashi himself was mentally slapping himself to even think that Naruto would not turn out to be a genius. It was clear by now that Naruto was easily a Chunin level shinobi. Junin level once he used his Sharingan. Then there was the gunbai he used. He himself had never seen such a weapon before, and from the few moments he watched Naruto using it, he understood that it was not easy to control. The gunbai itself consumed chakra because of the properties it was made from. Naruto also had a large fire affinity if the orange flames were any indication. He had also managed to catch Zabuza in a genjutsu, during his fight with the masked Junin. This raised another question. Why did Naruto Uchiha hide his skills? What was the purpose? Did he have more secrets? These were among the many questions said masked Junin had in his head. Naruto could have easily been Rookie of the Year, though once he thought about it the title didn't mean anything. He also remembered Naruto being a bit distant and cold with everyone. Though he would have a polite outlook covering that stoic visage, it wasn't until Kasumi came into the shared picture with him, that Naruto was becoming a bit more lighter and social with everyone else. He didn't have that emotionless look in his face anymore. Kakashi was glad and ashamed, to an extent. Glad that the younger brother of his former teammate had come out of his reclusive shell. Shame that he was never there to be a shoulder to lean on. Kakashi could tell that Naruto held no grudges towards anyone. Kakashi was proud at seeing a shinobi like this in this generation. Sensei, Naruto spoke up. He had a neutral look on his face. There's something I'd like to speak to you about. What is it, Naruto? Kakashi asked. Usually the raven-haired enigma never made such a statement before, so it was all the more intriguing to the man who knew over 1,000 jutsu. In private, if you don't mind, Naruto said, and he watched Kakashi get up. The silver-haired Junin then proceeded to move out of the house. Naruto had gotten up himself. Lunch had gone uneventful and the shift for the day was done. Naruto and Kasumi's shadow clones had immensely helped Tazuna increase the progress and decrease the workload. Naruto then went out. He was sure that if Kakashi gave permission, he'd be able to get Kasumi a gift. A gift she deserved and had every right to keep it. Well, Naruto, what is it? Kakashi asked. Naruto seemed a bit anxious, if the look in his face was anything. Sensei, Naruto said, this may sound weird and this is definitely the wrong time, but I wanted to take Kasumi out on a date, so I decided to come ask you. Naruto was looking down and berating himself for even saying such a thing. Kakashi thought deeply as he put a hand on his chin. He knew that Naruto wasn't lying and people have gone more astray than usual on missions. Okay, I understand. It wasn't wait what? Naruto broke the sentence and blurted out the question. You're actually allowing me to do that? Well, normally I wouldn't. But since even I haven't seen the true level of your strength, I guess you can fend both for yourself and your girlfriend. Kakashi said with a perverse giggle. Naruto had the decency to blush, but the former part of that sentence struck the chords of his attention. Naruto grunted, much against his better judgment. I guess there's no point in hiding it. Is there? Nope. Though I shouldn't be surprised. Kakashi said, everyone in your family was just as strong. That's true, but I want to be stronger. Naruto said as he looked at the pier beside Tazuna's house. He knew that Kakashi would sooner or later figure out his true battle capacity. It was always just a question of how long. Aren't you going to ask why I hid my strength? Aren't you going to ask why I hide my face with the mask? Kakashi replied cheekily. Relax, Naruto. We all have our secrets. Honestly, at first I was worried. I even considered you a flight risk after I saw your Sharingan during the bell test. But later on I realized something. You were willing to break away the walls you so carefully crafted when it came to Kasumi's life. I know for a fact that if a fraction of a second passed more, you truly would have killed yourself then and there. I don't mean to sound cheesy, sensei. But, Kasumi is, well, for the lack of a better term, my life's goal right now. Naruto replied as he smiled. He could freely admit that. He didn't want to hide that. That's true. A few years ago, Naruto Uchiha had just ignored everyone. He went about his own business. He wasn't even seen leaving the Uchiha compound at times. He just stayed in the empty clan compound. Even Sasuke moved away from there, to suppress the memories. You, however, steeled your resolve. You took care of the compound and you weren't affected by it as much as he was. That really is something some shinobi should take out of your page. Kakashi said, yeah, but, sensei, I would appreciate if you kept my strength a secret for now. Naruto humbly requested. Don't worry, I will, but I need you and Sasuke to cooperate more. Kakashi said, I try, sensei, but the boy won't listen. Naruto said, followed by a sigh. I can understand why he wants to get stronger. It's just his personality could use a serious adjustment. He was always glary, even before the massacre. And ever since, Tachi-ni, he refuses to accept the fact that he needs people. Naruto and Kakashi then heard yells coming out of the house. He then saw Inari rushing out of the house, fresh tears flew like dew in the wind. Naruto sighed. The previous day he had heard the story about Kaiza, a person considered a local hero of Nami no Kuni. He was the closest thing to a father figure the boy had. Then Gato had executed him in the main town as if a show was going on. The boy's mind became warped after that, and Naruto concluded that he lost hope that they would ever be free. He then saw Kasumi dash out of the house, in a rage mode. Naruto could only shiver at the sight. Her eyes had become white and her hair was dangerously flowing up, forming the shape of 9 very dangerous hair bangs that resembled a scene of great pain and furious anger. Kakashi too had a sweat drop. "I should probably try to save a few people," Naruto said as he followed the orange target in his eyes. Kakashi left alone sighed. "Goodness, Kasumi is too much like Kushina-san. Even their rage-induced states are similar." Kakashi then took out his book. Come to think of it, Naruto does act like sensei a bit. Calm and collected all the time, figuring out what the enemy will try to do and always making sure to hide you full capabilities. I wonder if it's a genetic thing going on. A little bit away from the house. "Where are you pint-sized, toothless," Kasumi was saying before Naruto cut her off. "Sumi," Naruto said with a little bit of fear in his voice. "Is something wrong?" "That kid," Kasumi all but yelled. "How dare he? I get that his hero died, but that doesn't give him the right to say that heroes don't exist. Ttebeo. When I free this country I'm gonna make sure that kid bites his own tongue." Before she could continue, she felt Naruto's lips press against her and his arms snaked across her waist. They wrapped themselves around her and pulled her deeper into the kiss. Soon, their tongues entered the fray as both of them ravished each other's mouths. Suddenly, Naruto pulled away and Kasumi pouted with pink staining her cheeks. "Mo, why'd you stop?" "Well," Naruto said as lightly pecked her on the lips once more, "to calm you down of course." "Cheater," Kasumi said before grabbed one of his arms and was walking with him. "Wait, shouldn't we go back to the house?" "Nope," Naruto said. "The shift is done for the day, courtesy of Naruto and Kasumi Shadow Clone Service. Tazuna-san said that from now on we should make more clones as they speed up the process." "Yay," Kasumi cheered herself on. "Wait, where are we going then?" "Well, I told Kakashi-sensei that I'm taking you on a date and he allowed it," Naruto said as Kasumi grinned in joy. "But we're not going on a date." "Mo, then where are we going?" Kasumi asked. "Kasumi, do you know what the name of this country was called before it was named Nami no Kuni?" Naruto asked as he had an all-knowing smile on his face. "No," Kasumi said with a deadpan expression. "You know I don't like history that much, Naru." "True," Naruto said. "Before Nami no Kuni, this country used to be surrounded by whirlpools all the time. The name of this country was Uzu no Kuni." "Uzu no Kuni, land of eddies?" Kasumi asked. "Yes," Naruto replied as they went south in the direction of the main town. This country did have a ninja village when it used to be called Uzu no Kuni. The village was known as Uzushiogakure, the Hidden Eddy Village. They were large allies of Konoha. But they also had a lot of enemies. In particular, Kumogakure and Iwagakure. They had combined their forces and wiped the Hidden Eddy. They were afraid of them and their main clan. Naruto finished. "Who were the main clan of Uzu?" Kasumi asked and Naruto chuckled. "What's so funny, Naru? I thought you would have figured it out by now," Naruto said and Kasumi tilted her head in confusion. The main clan of that village was the Uzumaki clan. 2 hours later, the remains of Uzushiogakure, Nami no Kuni. "That's," Kasumi gasped as she saw the spiral symbol every Chunin and Junin flak jacket had on its back. "Yes, the same swirl that all of us bear on our backs once we are promoted from genin. The symbol of Uzushiogakure. This is the original village of your clan, Kasumi," Naruto said. It was nothing but a barren skeleton of itself. Most of the structures were destroyed and lying in the waters. Naruto and Kasumi then kept walking until they arrived at a broken tower. It was scarred by time itself. The green moss covered the infrastructure and the red paint of the tower had become a blood clot brown. Yet there was a certain aura about the tower. Both of them entered and surprisingly found it much better maintained than the external features. Soon both of them came to a door, but the door wouldn't open. Naruto tried several times but it wouldn't budge. As soon as Kasumi touched it though, it opened. Naruto whistled in awe. "The beauties of Fuinjutsu," Naruto said. "Looks like this is a blood recognition seal like the one Shisui made. Only this one can identify your genes as an Uzumaki." "Sugoi," Kasumi said and noticed that once she stepped into the room, Naruto couldn't. "It's because of the seal, Kasumi," Naruto said. You have sealing scrolls with you, right, Kasumi? Yeah, I do, Kasumi said. How many? Naruto asked. About 5 large, Kasumi replied. Do you want me to do something? Well, it's about our fuinjutsu. Naruto said. I have knowledge and books that pertain knowledge up to level 6. If you find the ones above level 6, make sure you seal it and bring it. After all, you are the heiress of the Uzumaki clan. Baka, Kasumi said as her cheeks flushed red. She had never even thought she would be a part of a clan. Much less be the heiress and visit the place which housed her clan. All this was nearly too much to take for her. She knew that Naruto brought her here to make her happy. Fine, anything else? If you see anything you like, seal it and bring it. It's all yours anyway, Naruto said as Kasumi grinned like a mad scientist and disappeared into the room. 2 hours later, outside the tower. She must be sealing a lot of things, Naruto said. His ears then picked up some noises. He went forward to the forest section and saw a baby wolf cub. A large wild boar was chasing it. Naruto saw the cub and immediately rushed to save it from the hog. Placing the cub on a tree branch, Naruto threw his kunai and multiplied it with kunai kage bunshin no jutsu. 1 kunai became 9 as it pierced the hog and killed it. Naruto got near the wolf cub and gently patted it on its head. There we go, little guy. I hope you're fine, Naruto said with a smile. The little wolf was ebony black in color with some shade of blue around its eyes. Its irides were a striking gray that sunk into you. Thanks. A childlike voice came from the wolf cub. Yes, you're what the fuck? Naruto jumped back as he realized the wolf cub had spoken. Why you can talk? Of course I can. Name's Gorojin. Pleased to meet ya, the cub replied while raising one of its paws. Naruto brought his hand in the ram seal and released some chakra while saying, Kai. He opened his eyes to see the cub looking at him strangely. Something wrong, buddy? Oh, nothing. Naruto sighed. How can you talk and where are you from? I'm from Cabe no Kita. I can talk because I'm a direwolf. Gorojin said. Cabe no Kita. Sorry, but I never heard of that place before. Naruto said. Wait. Are you summon? Well, we are, but we've never had a summoner before. Gorojin said. Wait. Oh crap. Dad's gonna kill me. What do you Maya? Naruto didn't get to finish as a large puff of smoke appeared next to them. It towered the forest. Far above the heights of a tree a mighty beast stood. It was pure white in color and had a red tail swinging in the air. The jaws of the beast were massive and its eyes were a steel gray color. It had red markings around its eyes. Finally the mouth of the beast opened. Human, the beast spoke. The voice was deep and loud. It commanded respect. What are you doing beside my cub? May I ask? I found him here, Naruto said as he had instinctively activated his Sharingan. The beast looked at him somewhat impressed. Naruto wasn't afraid, even if he wasn't showing it. Yatu-san. He even saved me from that wild hog, Gorojin said as he pointed to the dead boar. Is that so? The loud voice of the wolf asked. Yes, Naruto replied as he took Gorojin into his hands, and was going near the large wolf. He placed the cub near his father's paw. Your dad's here now, Jin. See you around. What's your name, Ninjin? The wolf asked. Naruto Uchiha. Naruto replied and the wolf sat down. You're different from most Uchiha, the wolf said. I've heard that too many times to be honest. Naruto replied. He then took out a something from his pouch before going over to Gorojin. It was a vial containing a pain relief liquid. Stick out your arm, Jin. Gorojin asked in confusion as the large wolf stared at the two. What for? Naruto pointed out to a bruise on his leg and the wolf seemed surprised that Naruto noticed a scrape like that. Here, this should help. You probably didn't even realize that you were injured, Naruto said as he finished covering the area with the pain-reducing fluid. Thanks, man. Wait, I should give you something. I know. Hey Tu-san. Gorojin spoke up. He could be a summoner of dire wolves, you know. Oi Jin, Naruto said as he looked at the little cub. Don't say things like that. Actually, he's right. The large wolf spoke. We've never had a summoner before. I don't see the harm in having one. Plus, for an Uchiha, you really are quite different. You also helped save my idiot son when he was told not to come to these lands. Consider this my way of thanking you. The wolf then made some hand seals with his hand-like paws and a large scroll appeared. It landed right in front of Naruto. The scroll was opened by the wolf and he looked at Naruto. Sign your name here with your blood, Ninjin. Do not refuse this offer. No human has ever had the pleasure of summoning direwolves to their aid. Plus, We'll get to see if you humans are worthy of summoning direwolves to aid them in combat. Okay. Naruto bit his finger and signed his name in one of the empty columns. The name glowed for a bit and then turned black. Honestly speaking, I'm kind of glad how this turned out. But where exactly is Kabe no Kita? Have you heard of MT Myoboku? The wolf asked and Naruto nodded. Naruto had read extensively about the Sannin Jiraiya and Minato Namikaze. Both were toad summoners of MT Myoboku figures. You humans hear about toads but you don't hear about dire wolves. It is an area similar to the Sage regions. The only difference is that we live on gigantic island. The island is called Kabe no Kita because there is a large wall separating it from the rest of the world. Anyways, my name is Garuganki, the boss of the wolves. You saved my cub, for which I gave you the honor of being a summoner of our kind. We shall see just how far you can go, Naruto Uchiha. Before Naruto could say something, the duo of father and son disappeared in a puff of smoke. Nice to meet you too. Naruto muttered to no one. He was inwardly smiling. He got his summoning contract today. He went to the abandoned tower and saw that Kasumi had just come out of the room. What were you doing in there? Naruto asked. I found hundreds of high-quality storage scrolls. I took them all, Kasumi said as she was grinning madly and had a strange look on her face. Guess what, Naru? I also found scrolls on a taijutsu style, Suiden, Doden and the remaining volumes of Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. Great work, Sumi, Naruto said. We should go back now. We're going to have to lie, you know. Yeah, Kasumi replied. By the way, I noticed you came into the chamber after I came out of the room. What were you doing out there? Sai, it's complicated, Naruto replied. So you can summon wolves now? Kasumi asked as she and Naruto were on top of Tezuna's house. Both were sitting and gazing into the endless sky which housed the stars. Yeah, Naruto replied. It's kind of weird really. I did not expect to get much a summoning contract and that too in a manner like this. Both then silently sat still. Their bodies were leaned against each other. Naru, Kasumi spoke up. What do you think will happen when Zabuza shows up? The same like last time. I think I can handle the Hunter Nin. You and the others should help Kakashi-sensei when the time comes. Will you be alright? Kasumi asked. She did not know the full extent of Naruto's power, but she knew he was the strongest of their age group. That didn't stop her from worrying about him though. Don't worry, I am going to be perfectly fine, Naruto replied. Both then headed downstairs to get some sleep. They'd have 3 to 4 days more before Zabuza and the hunter would hypothetically show up. 4 days later, the pier near Tezuna's house. And that takes care of that, Kasumi replied as she kicked the wannabe samurai unconscious. Gato had sent 2 grunts to kill or capture Tsunami and Inari. Luckily, both Kasumi and Naruto had gone out during their training session and Kasumi was a bit tired, so she overslept. Naruto opted to stay back and bring her with him to the bridge. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise as they swiftly took care of the would-be kidnappers. Thank you, Tsunami said as she hugged Naruto. Kasumi's eyebrow twitched. She hated that, when women would try to get close to her man. Why couldn't she just say it without hugging him? Would it kill her? It's alright, Tsunami-san, Naruto replied as he was released from the hug, and felt a chill going down his spine. Kasumi had an all-too-sweet smile on her face. He paled a bit. He then saw Inari crying silently. Naruto put a hand on his head and ruffled his hair. Don't worry, Inari. Today, you'll see that heroes do exist. Ikesumi, Naruto said as he dashed off. Inari, Kasumi said as she gave her foxy grin. Remember what I said, I'm gonna prove my words and make you eat yours. Kasumi then chased behind Naruto. Ka-chan, Inari spoke. Will those two really free us? I don't know, Sochi, Tsunami replied, but if they can't, no one will. Ka-chan, let's go to the town, Inari said. Why? Tsunami asked. We're going to fight, just like Kaiza. The unfinished bridge. Clang. Sasuke and the Hunter Nin clashed with their kunai. Sasuke's chakra reserve has increased along with his control over it. He is smirking not because of his arrogance, but because of his confidence. Ever since the confrontation with Naruto a few days ago, he understood one thing. Naruto does not care about his authority. He does not care that Sasuke is from the main house. The confrontation also gave Sasuke a new understanding. He would have to take matters into his own hands if he wants to achieve his goals. Which at the moment, was catching up to Itachi and kill him to avenge the clan. He couldn't use any distractions and shove the thoughts of clan restoration with Kasumi aside, for now. Now he faces the masker hunter Nin. The hunter who was identified as Haku was probably around their age, maybe a year older. He was also skilled enough to make him feel that riled up for a fight. Sasuke was enjoying the battle. His Uchiha blood trait was blooming in the face of worthy foe. Kakashi was meanwhile fighting with Zabuza, who had returned fully healed from his injuries. Zabuza had once more coated the bridge with his accursed hidden mist jutsu. His executioner blade was clashed with the two kunai that Kakashi was using as his defense. Sakura Haruno was shielding the bridge builder Tazuna from any other annoyance that may show up. Kakashi wears the Uchiha brat, Zabuza asked as he slashed at Kakashi once more, who ducked and tried to kick Zabuza, who backed off at the last second. He overslept, Kakashi replied as he Sharingan-I tried to look for the demon in the hidden mist. Don't worry though, he'll be here soon enough. Along with the last member of our team. The Uzumaki brat, huh? Zabuza's voice said, I'll be honest with you Kakashi. I never expected to see another Uzumaki. Not in my lifetime. The last time I saw one was the Crimson Death herself. Me and another comrade fled once we saw her cut down members of the Cypher Division like they were nothing. I don't blame you Zabuza. Facing Kushina Uzumaki in a sword fight is considered tantamount to suicide. Kakashi replied as dodged the Zanbeitu coming for his midsection. Isn't that the bitter truth? A new voice said as a barrage of kunai were thrown at Zabuza, who deflected and blocked with his mighty sword. So the Uchiha brat finally shows his face. And the Uzumaki brat is here too. Zabuza said as he saw the two appear on the bridge. Alright, no brows Oji-san. Kasumi said as Zabuza's eyebrow twitched violently. It's time to put you down for good Ibeo. You said that the last time as well Gaki. Zabuza said as he chuckled a bit. Unfortunately for you, all of you are going to die. Starting with the duck-butt Uchiha who's fighting Haku. I doubt that Zabuza Momochi. Naruto said, I'll be taking care of that hunter Nin, and judging by the way she did one-handed seals, she must be a Kekkei Genkai wielder. Well, aren't you a sharp kunai? Zabuza said, her Kekkei Genkai is something that most people can't escape, and that boy is going to die. Not if I kill Haku first. Naruto said as he moved towards the section where Haku and Sasuke were fighting. Suddenly Naruto stopped and backed away. He felt another presence. You really are sharper than I thought Gaki. Zabuza said, you might as well come out now. The kid's a censor type. Aw man, all that work for nothing. A voice said as it cut through the mist. The perpetrator then jumped out of the water and walked up the legs of the bridge. He came into the clearing. He was taller than Naruto by at least half a foot. He had white smooth hair with a light blue tint, it came down to his shoulders. His eyes held black irides. He was smiling and his pointy, sharp teeth resembled something remnant of a shark. He wore a black, sleeveless shirt and light purple-colored pants that had striped light blue leg warmers. He also wore black, toeless shinobi sandals. Around his neck bandages were wrapped similar to Zabuza's. A water bottle was attached to the belt around his waist. On his forehead was a Kurigakure headband scratched out. He had a large sword on his back. It was wrapped in bandages and he was knuckling his fists. So you're the Gaki who kicked Zabuza-san's ass 14 ways to this day? The guy asked. Why you? Zabuza growled. Gomen Zabuza-san, I know it was Kakashi who beat you. I'm just here to take care of the kid. The guy said as he looked at Naruto once more. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Mangetsu Hazuka. One of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist and the guy who's going to have his hands stained in your blood. Naruto was a bit shocked. To think that Zabuza would bring in another ninja from that group was astounding and unnerving. That only proved that Zabuza saw Naruto as that much of a threat. Inwardly he felt a bit of pride, but kicked it aside while paying attention to Mangetsu in front of him. The man was smiling and completely relaxed. His sharp teeth gave off a grin that would send shivers down any man's spine. Mangetsu Hazuka, Kakashi spoke up, the second coming of the demon. Hey, the copy ninja knows who I am. Well, at least this day is going moderately well. Mangetsu said and then looked at Kasumi and whistled. Who's the hottie? Oi Jaws ripoff. Kasumi yelled. The name's Kasumi Uzumaki and don't you dare whistle again Ibeo. Geez, what a temper. Mangetsu said with a sweat drop. Uzumaki. Haven't seen one before. Aren't all Uzumaki supposed to have red hair? Oh wait, there is some red in your hair. Can we focus? Zabuza growled. Mangetsu, you take on the Uchiha brat. I'll take care of Zabuza and the others. Haku should be killing that other Gaki soon. Naruto was about to move towards Sasuke, but a sudden attempted slash stopped him from going any further. Mangetsu had tried to hit him with his bandaged sword. Mangetsu said, "We've gotta fight to death Uchiha-san. Let's not keep the Shinigami waiting. Sumi, go and help Sasuke," Naruto said as he put his hand on the handle of Hitokiri. "Nani," Kasumi said, "but what about you and Shark Teeth here?" "I have a name," Mangetsu said. "Don't worry, I'll take care of him," Naruto said as he activated his 3-Tomo Sharingan. "Go and help him defeat Haku. He'll need your help." "Fine," Kasumi yelled. Then she went into menace mode as she made her threat. "You better win your fight Naru and come out in one piece. Otherwise they'll be hell to play." She then headed towards the section the fight was going on. "That was scary," Mangetsu said as a visible sweat drop formed on top of his head. "You are so whipped, Mangetsu-san. I'd rather face you and Zabuza than stand in her path when she's angry," Naruto said. "Tell me about it. Sometimes women get angry for no reason," Mangetsu said in a nonchalant manner. "Yes, and the worst part is all our defenses become virtually useless. They always get the last word," Naruto said accordingly, not believing that he was casually speaking with the person he was about to have a deathmatch with. "Absolutely, Kami. Finally, someone who understands me. And when things don't go their way they just fight already." The collected yells of everyone on the bridge came, directed towards the two soon-to-be combatants. "Fine," both Mangetsu and Naruto said with a whine. "You know Mangetsu-san," Naruto said as a grin threatened to break on his face. He would be facing an elite shinobi on his own. "We could just walk away from this." "Yeah we could," Mangetsu replied as his hands were twitching on the blade. "But where's the fun in that? So do we do this as swordsmen or ninjas?" Naruto said. "Well, considering that both of us are here with our own different reasons to fight, there's no point in just locking blades," Mangetsu said as he took his stance with the blade. "We might as well go all out." "Agreed," Naruto said as both he and Mangetsu jumped off from the bridge. Both shinobi landed on the surface of the water and stood away from each other. "Before we fight I should introduce myself, seeing as you've done it as well," Naruto said. "Naruto Uchiha, Shisui Uchiha's little brother. Zabuza-san told me about your bloodline. I guess that makes you Genjiro and Satsuki Uchiha's son. One day I'm gonna tell my kids how I beat their son," Mangetsu said. "Or I'll tell my kids how I beat one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist," Naruto said with a smile. "Well then are we just going to stand here?" Mangetsu said as he took the stance once more, "or kill each other already?" "Agreed," Naruto replied. Both shinobi then dashed off towards each other. Mangetsu untapped all the bandages and revealed a blue blade that was large, and Naruto unsheathed Hitokiri. The black blade gleamed with the red edge shining. Both have their own ideals and reasons to fight. However, only one will survive. As soon as they got near, Hitokiri met with the giant blade as the shockwave from the strikes sent miniature waves behind the sword wielders. Both had grins on their faces. This is going to be good, both shinobi thought at the same time. Clang, clang, clang. Steel met steel. The two swords wielded by the shinobi facing each other in mortal combat were trying to overpower each other. One was succeeding, the other was being pushed back. Naruto Uchiha was mentally cursing himself. He was good with a katana, there was no doubt about that, but compared to someone like Mangetsu Hazuka who was swinging his blade like it was an extension of his arm was a different case altogether. They had both rushed at each other and had struck at the same time as Naruto's Hitokiri met the large blade that Mangetsu had kept bandaged. It was a wide, flat blade with 2 curve indentations near the base creating a sort of cross guard. 2 handles were connected to one another and by a short length of cord. In appearance, it looked like a flounder fish. The sword was heavy, there was no doubt about that, if the shift in weight crushing down on Naruto was any indication. Naruto, being the shrewd shinobi he was, kept some senbon sealed in his mouth as he fired them at Mangetsu, who was quick enough to move his neck to side. He jumped back at the same time as Naruto. "That was a cheap shot," Mangetsu said as he grinned once more, taking his stance with the blade. "I like that about you. Shinobi don't play fair the last time I checked," Naruto said. He took up the Kasatsu stance. He gripped the handle with both hands as he stared down at Mangetsu, who had also taken up his stance. Naruto assumed that it must be a style that only fits this sword alone. Naruto was patient, he was not going to attack first. He would counter whatever move Mangetsu would come up with. True, Mangetsu was a better swordsman than him, but Naruto's Sharingan should be able to even the odds. But the biggest difference between them was the experience one had over the other. Mangetsu was skeptically staring at Naruto, absorbing whatever information he could from the stance. He had not seen it before. Slowly he could feel his own patience growing thin. The genin before him was completely relaxed and his breathing was timed. "Aren't you going to attack?" Mangetsu asked. "Maybe, maybe not, who can say?" Naruto said with an emotionless tone. He could see that Mangetsu was slowly building up chakra, and soon enough the shark-toothed swordsman appeared before him and brought down the sword with full force. Naruto somehow evaded the strike and weaved around the blow and went for a slash at Mangetsu. However, the ex-Kiri shinobi anticipated it and pulled his sword towards him to barely block the slash. It was a powerful one too. There was a circular arc that formed from the slash. It was pure instinct that saved him from the slash. Then Mangetsu smirked. He spun his sword, making Naruto go back a bit, and then the young Uchiha's eyes widened at the sight. "Haramakare. Kaiho Haramakare. Release," Mangetsu said as the flounder fish-shaped blade changed its shape to become a large hammer with spikes protruding everywhere. Naruto used a kawarimi to avoid being mincemeat. Naruto panted a bit, not from being tired, from the sheer turn the blade and the battle took. He was lucky and he knew it. "That's just rude is what that is," Naruto said as he took up the stance once more. Mangetsu lifted the hammer sword like it was nothing and held it against his shoulders. "I can only assume that the sword can take various other shapes as well." "Woohoo," Mangetsu said as he looked at Naruto. "Not bad, Naruto. You figured it out, but I gotta ask, what is up with your kenjutsu? Never seen a style like that before. Where did you learn that from? Wouldn't you like to know?" Naruto said as he rushed towards Mangetsu. Soon enough the sword reverted back to its original shape and two swords clashed once more. Sparks flew, metal clanged, and each strike was being cancelled out by the other. Naruto's Sharingan was countering nearly every move that Mangetsu was making, but slowly Naruto noted that Mangetsu was still breathing at the same rate he had been since they started fighting. He had counted on the weight of the blade to tire him out a bit. This only meant that Mangetsu had mastered the sword to a great extent and didn't tire easily from using it. Then blue chakra formed around the large blade as it tried to slash Naruto from nearly every opening. Naruto was no longer on the offensive, he was merely blocking all the strikes. Naruto needed to do something about it and went for an attack. It was reckless, it was something that could have assured an injury. It was something that he learned from Kasumi. Sometimes, unpredictability trumps natural-born talent. Naruto broke his own defense and went into an attack stance. He shifted the sword back and made a swirling jump towards Mangetsu, who was caught off guard as his blade managed to cut a little bit of Naruto's cheek, but he wasn't fazed. Kasatsu Ryu. Mugen no Atami, life or death style. Endless pain. Naruto made a swipe with his blade as a slash diagonally appeared on Mangetsu's upper body. He was bleeding, but it wasn't that much of a damaging attack. Mangetsu had somehow moved back at the last second to avoid being slashed. The black blade was gleaming for murder as the red edge nearly glowed. Mangetsu grinned. "Damn kid, that was going to be one hell of a slash," Mangetsu said. "Risky too. Didn't expect you to pull of something like that out of nowhere." "Well, I am against one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Rules are out of the question," Naruto said as he took the stance once more. He was annoyed as his brows furrowed together. He wasn't surprised that Mangetsu was able to avoid the slash. What pissed him off was that he was banking on the attack to do a little more damage. Years of honed instinct is what allowed Mangetsu to not have a large slash on his chest and abdomen. "You forgot something, kid," Mangetsu said. He chanted the same words as before, and this time Haramakare, as Naruto assumed its name was, turned into a longsword. The blue chakra surrounding its body was very visible and twisting around. "Haramakare here has many forms to go by. Let's see how you do at a longer range." "Tch." Naruto scoffed in annoyance. The guy was taking him lightly, and this was starting to annoy Naruto. Naruto knew that now he couldn't let his emotions get the better of him. He sheathed his katana and sealed into his forearm. "Hey," Mangetsu all but yelled. "What's the big idea? What do you mean?" Naruto asked. "Why would you sheath your sword now? Are you trying to insult me, you brat?" Mangetsu was pissed. This was probably a blow to his honor as a reputation. "I'm not insulting you or anything. I am just going to use something that's better suited for that annoying sword of yours," Naruto said as he unsealed his other 2 weapons from his wrist. In his left hand was the gunbai, Haomaru, and in his right Shikyo, the Kusa. Naruto was much better at handling these two at the moment and had a better chance of winning. Man, I thought Zabuza-san was lying when he said you use a gunbai. You're in the wrong day and age, kid, Mangetsu said as he suddenly jumped forward and struck his sword against Naruto. To his surprise, the gunbai blocked the entire blow of Haramakare. Naruto used Haomaru to push him back and nearly struck him with Shikyo. You were saying, Naruto asked as he smirked. He took up the stance Muramasa had sent him, it was called the Gekka stance. Not bad at all, Mangetsu said before both were trying to rush each other again. Damn it, Tem, Kasumi yelled as she avoided another barrage of Senbon being thrown at her. She took out the kunai from the pouch behind her and deflected some that were aimed for her shoulder. Sasuke was dodging and deflecting as well. For the last 4 minutes and 35 seconds, Kasumi has been trying to convince Sasuke to calm down and coordinate their attacks. Unfortunately, Sasuke is yet to decrease his pride a bit more. Shut up, Dobi, Sasuke yelled as his eyes are completely fixed on the ice mirrors that surrounds the two genin. The hunter nin they were fighting against, known as Haku, is a Kekkei Genkai wielder. Haku has Hyoten ice release. It started off with Haku making one-handed sign seals, then entrapping both genin in the demonic ice mirrors trap. Haku was jumping from mirror to mirror which were close, but the speed at which the hunter nin was switching planes was far too fast for their eyes to follow. Right now the two genin were surrounded by more than 15 ice mirrors. Even Kasumi were to use her chains, she can only go up to 7 of them and the mirrors were placed perfectly. Naruto had often advised her to practice with the Kongo Fusa a bit more, but she had focused on Kenjutsu based on her stubbornness. A decision she was coming to regret. Clang. You two should stop bickering amongst yourselves. Haku's voice told them. Currently he was looking at them from behind. At least, Sasuke and Kasumi were covering each other's backs by keeping an eye out for the young ice user. This will only result in your death sooner. Urusei, Kasumi exclaimed as a chain shot out her back towards the source the voice came from. The chain had pierced the ice glass, slowly it was being reduced but Kasumi herself felt drained when she would use the chains. Adamantine chains not only required high, dense amounts of chakra, but a fair level of control over it too. Otherwise, the user will burn up chakra a lot faster than the chains can move. Still, desperate times called for desperate measures and Kasumi was doing her best. Kaden. Gukaku no Jutsu, Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke exclaimed as chakra escaping from his mouth took the form of a fireball and tried to hit the hunter nin, who somehow evaded the attack and managed to throw a couple of Senbon. The Senbon found its target as some of them lodged onto Sasuke's shoulder. Oi Tem, Kasumi exclaimed, I don't like working with you, so who about just this once we both work together? I don't need your help, Sasuke said as he pulled out the Senbon out of his shoulder. Blood gushed through and he winced in pain a little. I will get through this. I will not die here. I have my own goal to achieve. Sasuke's mind shifted back to Itachi. The words he said, to hate him, to get stronger, try to avenge the clan, if he could. Such hate, Hakuse's voice claimed, your hatred will get the better of you. What the hell do you know? Sasuke yelled, what the hell do you know about being the last of your kind? Foolish boy, Haku's voice broke through. It was laced with emotions. Haku herself did not know why she had opted to do so. But she could not stop herself. Perhaps because they too were like her. The boy had the Uchiha symbol on his back, a clan that was destroyed 7 years ago by a single man known as Itachi Uchiha. The girl was Kasumi Uzumaki. From what she learned from Zabuza, the Uzumaki were once one of the most feared clans in the world. The girl herself was probably one of the few Uzumakis left in the world. A part of her sympathized with them. She knew the pain all too well. I am the last of my clan. Do not claim such words when others know of the same suffering. Both genin merely stood silent at the words Haku said. Sasuke had seen his entire clan die. Kasumi had gone to the place her entire clan used to live. Both of them had lost their families. The shinobi world had ripped it away from them. Now here was another person, just like them, who had lost their way. Do you not see the Kekkei Genkai I use? Haku claimed once more as she threw a barrage of Senbons. Fuden. Datopa Wind Style, Great Breakthrough. Kasumi exhaled a large amount of wind jutsu that hit the Senbon, making them move away from the original target. I have been holding back all this time, just because I thought you two were like me. Haku's voice told them. Their eyes widened at the words Haku said. While it was true they were not hurt in a major way, they themselves had not been able to land a blow yet. Tell me something, as a survivor of one clan to another. What makes you stronger? To Haku this was personal for some reason. What do you mean? Kasumi asked as she tried to keep her eyes on each of the mirrors. Why do you fight? Haku asked. What do you fight for? This was an important question to the both of them. They were shinobi, tools to be used. They would take orders and carry out missions. But apart from that, shinobi had their own little lives as well. A small world of their own, where they had their own goals and dreams. It is said that if you are a shinobi and you have lived well past the age of 25, you have lived your life fully. An experienced shinobi that is. Sasuke thought about the question. His mind raced at a speed he never thought before. What did he want to achieve? Apart from killing Itachi and then eventually restoring the Uchiha clan back to its glory. No answers came to his mind. All he could remember prior to setting his goals after the massacre, was his family. The one thing he had, the only thing he had, taken away from him by his own brother no less. An event like that can forever change a person. Hatred had taken the better of him. No one could blame him for this. To be an Uchiha, was to breed hatred in oneself. It was the way of the world. It had happened for generations. It is happening again. Hatred drives Sasuke Uchiha, and right now, hatred is what will make him stronger. As he opens his eyes remembering all he has been through, his power takes a new leap. Kasumi Uzumaki, confused at the words the Hyoten user said. Why does she fight? What does she fight for? All her life, she was ostracized, avoided, and one time she was nearly publicly beaten. A sad existence that every Jinchuriki goes through. However, her iron will is what dragged her through all the years. Her determination and guts were something that most shinobi would dream to have. To be the Hokage, that was her goal. It was her goal, but what did she fight for? A very vivid picture came to mind. A picture of a boy with bright blue eyes smiling at her and waiting for her. No matter what would happen, that picture would always be there. He would be there. Kasumi suddenly had a new fire in her eyes. She looks at Sasuke and just for once she is willing to work with the ass to get out of this mess. She stares in surprise. His onyx eyes have changed. Your eyes, Kasumi said as she pointed towards his ocular orbs. Sasuke in response brought his kunai towards his vision. A vision that was sharper. He looked into the reflection of the sharp kunai and his eyes widened in surprise. No longer were the onyx orbs around. Instead 2 scarlet irides were found there. 2 tomo in the left eye, and 1 tomo in the right eye. Sharingan, Sasuke yelled in his mind. An all too familiar smirk made its way back onto his face. He looked around, the world seemed so much clearer in his eyes. It's over now. Oi Kasumi said as she pushed him away, a senbon struck where he stood. Pay attention to what's happening. TCH. Sasuke scoffed as he looked at the spot riddled with a couple of senbon. You didn't have to push me. Well, excuse me for saving you, duck butt emo, Kasumi said as she threw some kunai with explosive tags towards the ice mirrors. It exploded too. However, the ice-constructed mirror was made to withstand tougher attacks. Dobi, Sasuke said as his eyes were darting around the demonic ice mirrors. We need to finish him off. I know that, you idiot, Kasumi said, not looking at Sasuke. So you finally ready to work together? HN, Sasuke HN in approval. Fine, but only this once. Mere teamwork will not save you. Haku said, let's see what you can do when I don't hold back. Haku's upper half emerged from the demonic ice mirror as she started going through hand seals. Hyouten, Sabama Fubuki, ice style, snowstorm swallows. Haku yelled out her attack and extended her palms. A flock of ice chunks emerged from them and took the shape of birds which narrowed in like hawks after their prey. Kasumi and Sasuke were hit in their arms and legs, though they were merely grazed, but the sharp beaks of the ice-made birds were as deadly as kunai. Kuso, Kasumi said as she put her left hand on her bicep. The wound wasn't deep, but the effect of it was scathing. Her left arm had 2 wounds, her right arm had 1. She was stabbed lightly by the ice-made birds in her left calf. She saw that Sasuke had similar wounds as well, although his wounds were more centered near his shoulders. It seemed that Haku was aiming to make sure they don't perform hand seals. Haku had gotten close too. Shall we continue? Haku's voice asked as the Uzumaki and the Uchiha heard the similar ice-forming noise once more. Get ready, Kasumi yelled as she unsheathed Ginken. She would cut down all the ice constructs sent her way. Speak for yourself, Sasuke said as he went through hand seals. You should give up Kakashi, Zabuza said as he brought down the giant butcher blade upon the copy ninja who became the almighty log. Zabuza moved away in time to avoid his nape having a kunai being pierced into it. Let's agree to disagree, Kakashi said as he and Zabuza clashed once more. The mist around here was thicker and Kakashi came to one conclusion. This mist wasn't just made by Zabuza alone. The Hunter Nin and Mangetsu too must have laced the entire mist surrounding the bridge with their chakra. The Sharingan was indeed one of the most powerful dojutsu in the world. But just like every other jutsu, it had its own specific set of weaknesses. This mist was proving itself to be one of them. The Byakugan was a much more fitting situation for this battleground. However, Kakashi knew that his experience with his former teammates' Sharingan would no doubt play a large factor in this battle, never mind the vast amounts of chakra it consumed. Kakashi was caught off guard for a moment when Zabuza appeared in front of him. His palm was extended and right in Kakashi's face. Sweden. Suoro no Jutsu, Water Style. Water Prison Jutsu, a circular bubble of water escaped from Zabuza's hand and formed around Kakashi, entrapping him once more in the sphere of water. Zabuza grinned as he caught Kakashi in the water prison. Never thought you'd fall for the same trick twice, Kakashi. Two hands emerged from where Zabuza was standing and grabbed his feet. Zabuza's eyes widened as he saw that Kakashi was underground. The Kakashi in front of him poofed up in smoke. Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, Earth Style. Headhunter Jutsu, Kakashi's voice confirmed the technique's name as his hands began to pull Zabuza into the ground. However, Zabuza himself turned into a puddle of water. Kakashi emerged from the ground. His right eye was closed as he saw Zabuza clearly now. Zabuza himself was not trying to hide in the mist. Getting frustrated, are we, Zabuza? Kakashi asked as he drew a kunai. It's only a matter of time, Kakashi, Zabuza said as he lifted the executioner blade. Soon enough Mangetsu will be done with the Uchiha brat. Haku will take care of the Uzumaki brat and the duck-haired boy. As for Pinky, I'll kill her last right before I kill the bridge builder. You shouldn't underestimate them, Zabuza, Kakashi said as he flung some shuriken towards Zabuza, who in turn blocked them all with his Zanbeitu. After all, there's more than one Uchiha on my team. The kunai in Kakashi's hand was thrown as it had wire attached to it. Kakashi tried to trap Zabuza with the wire, but the former mist shinobi saw through the ruse and excellently maneuvered his blade to slice the wire. You mean the duck butt is an Uchiha as well? Zabuza said as he tried to strike Kakashi and left a slash mark on the white-haired Junin's flak jacket. Looks like there will be two less Uchiha in the world. Make no mistake, Kakashi, Haku is stronger than I am. Make no mistake, Zabuza, the only victors who will emerge from here will be us, Kakashi said. Soon enough the momentary peace was broken as the two men started going through hand seals. Take this, Mangetsu yelled as he tried to slash Naruto's body in a horizontal fashion. He hit a log and saw that Naruto jumped out underneath the water. The gunbai came rushing towards Mangetsu's face and blocked it with the Haramakare. Shikyo was hurled towards him at an awkward angle and left a gash on his back. Mangetsu gritted his teeth in pain. He then grabbed the kusa and pulled the chain, bringing Naruto closer to him. Naruto got kicked in the stomach and stumbled back. Wind was knocked out of him. Heeyah! Naruto barely managed to block the stinging stab as it hit the gunbai which protected his chest. He was forced backwards once more. A weapons fight with Mangetsu was turning out to be futile. At first, Mangetsu had been holding back, but he regretted that decision when Naruto got a few hits on him with the Shiko and Haomaru. Haomaru was the reason he had managed to avoid being killed today in so many different ways. The gunbai was living up to the promise that Muramasa had promised it out to be. Naruto needed to do something, and fast. He then remembered one of the techniques that Shisui had often showed him. Naruto had gone back home and made a lot of copies and breakdowns of the jutsu Shisui had shown him. Naruto blocked another slash. His body had enough cuts from today. But first, he needed a distraction. He threw some smoke pellets and Mangetsu rushed in quick. Just as Haramakare was about to strike the young Uchiha, Mangetsu pulled back. The patience and the timing seemed too perfect to the white-haired swordsman. Soon enough, Naruto had exploded. It was quite an effective explosion. Kid knows how to blow up his clones, Mangetsu said as he waited for the steam to die down a bit and locate his target. Finally, his wish came true and Mangetsu just looked around at the scene before him. What is this? Surrounding Mangetsu were at least 8 Narutos. All of them had drawn their tanto as the Sharingan was calculatingly observed Mangetsu. Then 4 of the clones rushed in. Mangetsu sighed in annoyance, and saw that one of the clones was in his range. Disappointingly, Mangetsu made an arc of death rushing towards the clone. Then the blade passed through the clone. Mangetsu was in shock, his state was so dazed he could not anticipate a blow from a tanto coming to his back. Mangetsu hissed in pain. He tried to attack a few more times but each time the attack passed through the clones. Within a few seconds he would be hit again. This time, Naruto's strikes came directed towards his arms. Mangetsu realized that Naruto was aiming for his arms to decrease the mobility, thus making sure that his swordplay factor decreases its lethality. After a few more time, Mangetsu noticed that the concessive hits had decreased and the time between each blow was increasing. Mangetsu took that chance and once more released the Haramakare. This time the long sword had morphed into 2 split swords. Mangetsu was then anticipating the hits. Soon enough he could predict where the attack would come from, but Naruto would switch with a clone at the last second. However, experience was something that Naruto didn't have, and soon enough, due to his inexperience with the technique, he had let his guard slip and found a very nasty gash on his shoulder. He clutched the injured shoulder, muttering curses about swordsmen and their battle instincts. One surprise after another, Mangetsu said as he twirled the twin blades around. They were glowing with the blue chakra, making a humming noise. Mind telling me what that was? So you can figure it out and use it against me? Naruto asked as he panted. No thanks. Besides, I think I'll be making sure you don't use that sword now. Huh? Mangetsu asked as he looked confused. Kid, you weren't able to outdo me in a sword fight. You're good. Way too good to be a genin. But the real reason you couldn't beat me straight is because I am a better swordsman. I'm not being cocky, mind you. Mangetsu said. It was true. He was nonchalant, lazy and aloof. He was even a conceited fool if one were to say. But he was never arrogant. That was why his potential among his peers was nigh unrivaled. You're right. In a sword fight I can't beat you, not yet anyway. Naruto said as he sealed the tanto into his right forearm. The gash on his shoulder was going to play a problem in his plan. But he had already made one plan. What mattered was following up the next steps, which no doubt would turn this battle into one of ninjutsu. So you know your limits. That's a good thing. I guess you'll live longer than the average shinobi. Mangetsu said as he placed the blades casually on his shoulder. But if you can't disarm me, how were you planning to get rid of the Haramakare? From me? Well, I noticed one thing from our battle. Naruto said as he had a small smirk on his face. That smirk was radiating danger levels to Mangetsu. Initially, you weren't fighting seriously. Then after receiving a few blows, you lost your little temper. Hey, I take offense to that. Mangetsu cried out while pointing a blade at the Sharingan user. I noticed you were coming with every intention to kill. Every swing should have injured. Had it not been for my gunbai, I would have lost a long time ago. But therein I found a little weakness to your blade. Oh really? Mangetsu asked with a toothy grin. Do tell. Your blade is exceptionally powerful. Just like the other 6 blades of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Naruto said. The 2 greatest drawbacks your sword has is the fact that it's been draining your chakra ever since you released the new forms. The other is that the Haramakare is a very heavy blade, even by Zanbeitu standards. That is the fact that caught me off guard, combined with your deadly proficiency. Oh shucks, you're making me blush, Mangetsu said as he waved his hands about, being praised by Naruto on his skills. But you're right about the heavy part. The chakra part won't be a problem. I've got enough to carry around with me. True, Naruto said as he made a ram seal with one hand. But how long can you swing that blade without breaking your arm? What the heck are you on about? Mangetsu said as he took a stance with the Haramakare twin blades. Did you not notice something? When I made that combo with my clones, I hit you a lot more times in the beginning. It began to nearly disappear during the middle stage before I attacked you once more. You were forced to make Haramakare twin blades before you got a few hits on me and gave that nasty little scar. I don't like living in suspense, kid. Mangetsu said as he was a bit on edge now. He was a little curious now though. Every word that Naruto said was right. Mangetsu was under the impression that Naruto was being careful. So you gonna tell me, or does Mr. Mangetsu have you cut it out of you? Here's the answer. Naruto said as he brought the ram-bearing hand seal near his face. Fuin, seal. Immediately, Mangetsu felt heavier. Not just his blades, his arms and shoulders also felt heavier. He was dumbfounded and saw the reason behind his immobility. He found strange black, kanji markings on the Haramakare twin swords, and on his arms as well. Looking on each shoulder, he found similar sets of kanji sitting peacefully there. He cursed the fact that he had let his guard down. Fuinjutsu. Mangetsu said it like it was poison in his mouth. Never expected an Uchiha of all people to be a user of seals. Fuinjutsu is a complex art. I still don't know why people don't find it as useful as I do, Naruto said as he looked at Mangetsu. Naruto had used his brush and quick speed to draw the seals on Mangetsu and his sword. He knew that eventually Mangetsu would be able to break the seal once he overpowered it with enough chakra, but it would take a significant amount of it. Give up now, Mangetsu-san. There's no need to kill each other. As much as I'd like to kid, I can't, Mangetsu said as he let go of the blades. They dropped into the water and rose up, floating carelessly on the surface. The density of the blades didn't change and he was glad. I've got finished this mission. We need the payment. Do you have to kill the bridge builder? Naruto asked. He's working on that bridge to free the country. Surely you see how that could benefit the people. I do, kid, Mangetsu said, but I've got a civil war going on in my own village. You don't know what that's like. I had to kill many of own friends as they sided with Yagura the Mad Turtle. All this, every little job I take, the blood I shed of others is to make sure the rebel army can afford to fight. Gato is simply one of those means. I see, Naruto said. You're looking to free your own village from the war it's been plagued by. However, this country's freedom is also important to me. I won't let you take that away. Looks like we each have our own set of ideals to go by. Mangetsu said as he moved his arms a bit. In all honesty, it had been a long time since he had seen Fuinjutsu being used like this before. Other than that, the Fuinjutsu he had seen were sealing scrolls. Any chance you can lift these seals off me? He knew it would take some time and more chakra to get rid of the seals, and Mangetsu was sure that Naruto had no intention of letting him get that chance. No, Naruto said with a smile. Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. Will you guys leave Wave Country in peace? Peesh, you're very mature for your age. And you're a red-eyed shrewd bastard. White-haired sword swallower. What did you little Uchiha shit? You heard me, you Mangetsu son of a bitch. Both started going through hand seals, and Naruto once more cursed himself. Even with those weight seals he's weaving through fast hand seals. There, Sasuke yelled as he looked towards a certain ice mirror. He threw Fuma shuriken at the mirror and Haku escaped the blades. She noticed a chain going up behind her and nearly stabbed her in the arm. Ever since, the Uchiha had awakened his Sharingan, he was closely following each of Haku's movements. That combined with Kasumi's chains covering the other blind side, Haku was feeling a bit frustrated. They were forcing her to get serious a bit. The greatest flaw that Haku had according to Zabuza was the fact that she was far too soft for her own good. She had wanted to be a nurse, but time and war had forced her to grow up fast. Now, here she was masquerading as a hunter nin as she fought two skilled genin from Kekkei Genkai clans just like her. Another reason as to why she was holding back against them. Soon enough she decided to end the match between them. Hyouten. Haikasui no Jutsu, Ice Style, Ice Spike Jutsu. Haku yelled the attack of the name as sharp spikes of ice emerged from the ground to injure or maim the two genin who were doing their best to avoid the constructs of pain and death. Soon enough, the two genin realized what Haku was actually aiming for. Kasumi was one side of the spike and Sasuke was on the other. Both genin knew that they were working together well. Their collaboration jutsu of fire and wind had cancelled out a few of Haku's jutsus. Then a barrage of senbons came flying in and both genin were struck in various places over their bodies. Mobility was now compromised for the both of them. Sasuke got the worst dose. Kasumi saw that Sasuke was kneeling down while panting furiously. There were senbon in the frontal portion of his body rather than that of his limbs as Kasumi was targeted. She felt rage building up inside her. Sure, she didn't like the stuck-up bastard, but he was still a comrade. Shut up, Dobi, Sasuke said as he slowly felt his entire body going numb. Unconsciousness was trying to pry him away from the battle he was in. It's no use, Haku said as she stepped out of the mirror. Soon enough both of you will die and then the rest of your team will follow. Why are you doing this? Kasumi asked as she looked at Haku. Because we are shinobi, tools of death. We each have our purposes and we will fill our own goals, oftentimes at the expense of others. Haku said, You think I am going to die here? Sasuke asked. I won't die here, I have to kill him. I can't die without killing him. Soon enough you will die. Uchiha-san, Haku replied. To have a goal is fine, but to let your hatred control you is foolish. Real strength comes from something else. Something far more precious. What the heck are you on about? Power is everything. That's all that one person needs to get stronger. Sasuke said as he felt more of his strength slip with every word. Perhaps to you, I draw my strength from being able to aid Zabuza-sama. I am his tool. You may not believe it, but he is very precious to me. He saved me from the Kiri civil war and is the reason I am so strong today. Unfortunately, I must end our conversation here. Haku said as he threw some senbon at Sasuke's neck. The Uchiha's neck was on the receiving end of the senbon and he soon fell into a death-like state. Tem, Kasumi called out to Sasuke who wasn't even breathing anymore. Oi Tem, get up, Kasumi yelled once more. It's no use, Haku said as she started walking towards Kasumi. And now you will die. I won't die, Kasumi said. Her body shook a bit out of rage. Sasuke Uchiha was dead before her eyes. He was a comrade. He was related to Naruto. Kasumi spoke once more. I'm not going to die here. I've got someone to go back to. You hear me? So you do have someone precious to you after all. If what I'm guessing is right, that person must be the Uchiha boy fighting Mangetsu right now. Don't worry, he'll join you soon enough. As annoying as Mangetsu is, he always gets the job done. And if he can't, I'll make sure of it. Don't you dare of even laying a hand on him, Kasumi said as her eyes turned crimson beneath the bangs of sun-kissed blonde hair. You already killed Sasuke, there's no way I am letting you touch anyone else. Kasumi said as a red, vile chakra exploded from her body. Her whisker marks became much more prominent, her teeth became sharper and the nails resembled small claws. I'll kill you, Kasumi exclaimed as a potent and terrifying killing intent flooded the bridge and the area around it. Haku herself was shaken to her by the sheer force of it. Kakashi and Zabuza stopped their fight immediately. The malevolent chakra had made its presence known all throughout the area. The two war-hardened shinobi stopped dead in their tracks as they were locked in fierce combat. To Zabuza this was something he had never felt before. The sheer killing intent being released from the chakra was enough to kill some civilians or render them catatonic at least. Kakashi knew this feeling all too well. Nearly 15 years ago he had felt this presence in his village. A night that no one, in Konoha at that time, could ever forget. The Kyuubi no Kitsune. Kakashi was sweating bullets at feeling that horrible presence again. This chakra, is it Kakashi? No, even his chakra isn't this terrifying. Zabuza thought, absolutely forgetting about Kakashi at the moment. Kyuubi. Did Kasumi lose control? No, she couldn't lose control, not with such a complicated seal on her. She must be accessing some of its chakra. If that's the case then, she should be in control. Still, I should put down Zabuza now before this drags on for too long. Kakashi thought as he went through a few hand seals. Raiden. Raiko Hitofuki no Jutsu, Lightning Style, Lightning Blast Jutsu. Kakashi uttered the name of his attack as a great blasting stream of lightning escaped from the one-eyed Junin's hands and rushed to strike Zabuza with a furious surge. Zabuza was hit by the jutsu and took some time before being able to Kawarimi with a log. Zabuza's body was letting off smoke from the aftereffects of the Raiden jutsu. He didn't know that Kakashi could pull of a jutsu like that. It almost felt like as if someone from Kumogakure had performed the jutsu. Damn you Kakashi, Zabuza said as he was still reeling from the attack. It may have been a C-ranked jutsu, but just like the Great Fireball, the power of the jutsu depended on the user. His movements would now be restricted by the effects of the lightning-style jutsu. I'll be ending this shortly, Zabuza, Kakashi said as he engaged Zabuza with no weapons. Suiden. Mizu Kamikiri, water style, rising water cutter. Mangetsu said as he slammed his hands into the ground as slicing jets of water emerged to skewer Naruto. Kaden. Hausenka no Jutsu, fire style, phoenix flower jutsu. Naruto said as he exhaled a series of smaller orange fireballs rushing at the jets of water. Both jutsu collided in mid-air as smoke formed in between them. Mangetsu dodged the shuriken that were hidden inside the tinier fireballs. Naruto had hidden shuriken inside the fireballs, so that they could strike Mangetsu even if the flowers of fire died out. Mangetsu was getting a bit tired now. Both Naruto and Mangetsu had managed to land quite a few hits on each other. Both were injured and the seal on Mangetsu's body wasn't helping his situation. He had to expend more chakra to get rid of the seals on him and Haramakare. He had gotten rid of the ones on his right arm. But then the vile chakra they were feeling had distracted them. It had a larger effect on Naruto, and Mangetsu capitalized it by removing the other seal on his arm. Seeing that Naruto was still in a daze, Mangetsu blazed through hand seals even though he felt a great pain rushing through his arms and shoulders. The little shit added a pain-inducing seal as well. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was impressed. Mangetsu then toothily grinned as he finished his hand seals. But it's still not enough to take me out. Experience is everything, kid, and this is where I win. Suiren no Jutsu, Water Style, Water Dragon Jutsu. Mangetsu said as a large water dragon twisted and roared as it rushed towards Naruto, who broke out of his daze. Apparently it was the same feeling he had when Kasumi had killed Mizuki. The Kyuubi's chakra. He saw the dragon coming in for him and he had to counter fast. He had chakra reserves that far outclassed most Chunins and Junins, but even he had his limits and he did not want to hit that rock known as chakra exhaustion. Throwing caution to the windmill, Naruto blazed through hand seals more faster than he had ever done in his life. Kaden, Goryuka no Jutsu, Fire Style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. Naruto yelled as a large stream of fire was exhaled and took the form of a dragon's head. The orange, flame-created draconic head rushed towards its mortal enemy, the dragon made of water. Steam erupted once more and Naruto was panting a bit. The hits that Mangetsu had gotten on him were critical points. He felt the wounds all over his body taking place. The adrenaline was decreasing and Naruto, letting his emotions take the better of him, rushed towards the bridge. He still had that plan in effect. Suddenly he felt two sharp pangs of pain on his chest. Blood spluttered out of his mouth. His upper body had two large slashes going down from his collarbone to his waist. Mangetsu Hazuka was simply standing there with his swords in an X formation. Naruto barely struggled to stay on the surface of the water. Mangetsu looked at the young genin and sighed. Sorry, Mangetsu said as he looked at Naruto's body slowly jerking and descending into the water. For what it's worth, you were far more deserving of a genin, Naruto Uchiha. Mangetsu turned the form of Haramakare back into its base form. This was a really good fight he enjoyed. Getting rid of the high-quality seals that Naruto had placed on him was a hassle and took up quite a bit of his chakra. Not because they were very high-level seals, but because of the fact that Mangetsu did not how much flared chakra was needed to expulse the seals. He had used up excess amounts of it and in a short amount of time too. He started to go back but noticed something strange. The body was descending into the water, but it was fading away. Mangetsu's eyes widened in fear before he felt pain surging through his body. An electrical surge of pain. He turned around to see Naruto Uchiha standing there. No blood on his shirt. No gaping wounds. Just the scratches and wounds he had before their elemental dragon attacks collided. In that time Mangetsu's eyes widened in realization as to what happened. He moved away as he felt more cuts appearing on his body as jolts of electricity stabbed his nervous system. Naruto had used Raiden no Yaiba, lightning style, blade of lightning several times just before releasing the genjutsu. There were at least 9 miniature blades laced with his chakra that cut Mangetsu and shocked him. Genjutsu. Mangetsu hissed in pain as if the word was a toxic waste the world could live without. During our sword fight when our eyes made contact, Naruto said, he had placed a double-layered genjutsu and made sure to activate it if he were in a bind. In all honesty, the twin slashes from Mangetsu were indeed going to make contact, but Naruto activated the genjutsu at the last second to avoid being killed or slashed to the point of bleeding out. I have to finish this now. Naruto went through a few more hand seals. There was no need to kill Mangetsu, just enough to subdue him and go calm Kasumi down. Naruto stopped the hand seals and rushed at Mangetsu, who was shocked at the sight of the amount of lightning chakra surrounding Naruto's closed right fist. Raiden. Dendo Kuryo no Jutsu, lightning style, lightning overdose jutsu. Naruto yelled as he slammed his fist into Mangetsu's chest. Electrical particles traveled throughout the young swordsman's body in ridiculous amounts. A non-killing version of electrocution was being displayed. Mangetsu yelled in pain. For some reason he felt his body growing heavier by the second. Then finally he fell back quite some distance. Naruto panted as he sat down for a moment. You crazy bastard. Pant. Making me work that hard. Naruto said as he got up. He needed to get to the bridge, but slowed down once he felt that the chakra was receding. Then he felt a pull on his leg. A whip made of water was tied around his foot and yanked him backwards, making him fly in the air. Mangetsu was up once more, but you could see the effects of the jutsu on him. Unfortunately, Hermakare was in his hand, and this time he finally got the slash he looked so forward to today. A diagonal slash appeared on Naruto's upper body. Blood was freely flowing. He coughed blood. The sheer pain he was feeling was indescribable and incomparable to anything he ever felt before. He saw that Mangetsu was standing over him with his hand mimicking a gun with his index finger outstretched. "Goodbye Naruto Uchiha, I'm glad I got to fight against someone like you," Mangetsu said as water formed around the index finger pointing at Naruto's midsection. Sweden. Mizudepo no Jutsu, water style, water gun jutsu. A bullet of water shot off at a blinding speed from the index finger as it went clean through Naruto's chest. Naruto did not move. He was not breathing. Naruto Uchiha was dead, Mangetsu panted. It was finally over. Blood mixed itself in the water. Kasumi was in a blood rage. She had dragged Haku out of the mirror and was thrashing her about. All her battle aesthetics had increased as she got faster and stronger with the bubbling coat of Biju chakra around her. All her previous wounds had been healed by the Biju in her gut. She then beat down Haku and finally her mask came off. Kasumi hesitated a bit and saw that the hunter Nin was a girl, not much older than her. Probably 2 to 3 years older at most. Kasumi was feeling bloodlust in her body, but she was fighting it back. The first time she had killed Mizuki, she often had nightmares about it. She was not looking forward to another kill again. Naruto had been able to calm her nerves, but it took some time before she got over it. "Why you?" Kasumi said as she looked at Haku. "Why are you doing this? You're not much older than I am." "Because I am Zabuza-sama's tool. I will serve him until I die," Haku said with all her dignity. "Why do you work for someone like that?" Kasumi said as her eyes were still bearing crimson orbs with slits. "Because he is precious to me. During the Kiri Civil War, my own father sided with the Mad Cage and killed my mother," Haku said as she remembered the incident. She had been trained as a shinobi for years, but tears still made it to her eyes as water flowed down her cheeks. "My father was a part of the unit that killed my mother. Zabuza was also there but stopped the act and killed the others. The death of my mother had a profound effect on him even though he will never admit it. From that day on he raised me and trained me. He is my most precious person. He is for all intents and purposes the reason why I came so far and became strong." Kasumi's chakra waned out a bit. "Why did you kill Sasuke?" Kasumi said as she looked at Haku. "He's not dead," Haku said as Kasumi's eyes widened. "I merely put him in a death-like state like I did to Zabuza." "Why did you do that? You could have killed us anytime you wanted to," Kasumi said. "I guess it's because you two are like me. The last of your kind," Haku said as she weakly smiled. Her entire body was in pain. The Kyuubi's chakra was extremely potent and each blow left by Kasumi had devastating effects. She had also let her guard down. She wanted to go and help Zabuza but her body was unable to move. Suddenly she was picked up by Kasumi. "Come on, let's go," Kasumi said as she flung one of Haku's arms around her shoulder. "Why?" Haku asked. "You should kill me. I'm useless to Zabuza-sama. I have no purpose. You said he's like your father, right?" Kasumi said as she saw Haku's eyes widened. "I don't know what it's like to have parents. But I do have a precious person. And I know would never give up the chance to be with him for the rest of my life. He's the reason why I am strong today. I had no one truly that close to me before him. So, let's go and get your dad. I owe you one for not killing us. Hold him down like that," Kakashi said as he saw his summoning the dogs, hold down a weakened Zabuza. "Let me show you my personal jutsu Zabuza. It was made just to assassinate people." Kakashi started going through hand seals and held down one hand in the lower direction with his other. Lightning chakra wisped and twisted around his hand and Zabuza's eyes widened in fear. The lightning-covered hand then made the chakra took the shape of a blade. "The chakra is manifesting itself. Is this Chidori?" Zabuza tried to move but Kakashi's dogs were all too well trained. "Reikiri, lightning cutter," Kakashi said as he ran off at high speeds but soon enough before he could strike chains had appeared and Kakashi got distracted for a moment and stopped as his hand hit the ground and the place of contact exploded from the sheer force of the chakra. Kakashi saw that Kasumi was walking towards them with the hunter Nin's arm wrapped around her shoulder and another Kasumi dragging Sasuke on her back. "It's over Kakashi-sensei," Kasumi said. "We need to heal Sasuke." Kasumi looked at Sakura who was still with Tazuna. She motioned for her to come over. And Sakura understood. She slowly took Sasuke's unconscious body and began to carefully extract the Senbons. Zabuza-sama, we can't keep up this fight anymore. Haku said. I was beaten. Haku, you useless fool. Zabuza yelled as he was still held down by the dogs. You're a tool, not a Urusei. Kasumi yelled as she looked at Zabuza. What sort of an idiot are you? Can't you see how much she cares for you? She's nothing but a tool. Zabuza said as he looked away. He was tired and his eyes may leak out the truth. He indeed did care for Haku, as if she was his daughter. Zabuza, Kakashi said as he went near Zabuza. Make a choice. If you fight, you will die. Did you forget there's one more of us? Zabuza said. Mangetsu better not lose this one. Can't believe I had to use the clan technique on a genin. Mangetsu said as he dragged the large blade across the water. Zabuza is gonna have my head for this. Too bad you don't have Bounty Kid, you would have been a fine addition to the bingo book. Mangetsu walked away. Then it happened once more. This time his body was on fire. Amaterasu, heavenly illumination. Then Mangetsu suffered once more as the voice reached his ears. Pain resounded. This time his body was on fire. Black fire, engulfing his body, his skin peeling away. Out of the corner of his eye, he once more saw Naruto Uchiha standing. His shirt was torn. The slash that Mangetsu made was there, but the wound had been closed. It had been forced to close as the entire skin was burned. Naruto Uchiha had used the second and final layer of Genjutsu to trick Mangetsu right after the slash. Naruto used Kaden. Sand, fire style. 3 a basic fire jutsu used as an exercise. He made flames appear on 3 of his fingers and withstanding great pain, sealed the large gash on his body closed. Naruto felt like letting the bastard burn but, using the Mangekyo Sharingan in his right eye he closed it. The cancelling part of the Amaterasu was always more painful than the inflicting part. The reason why he did this was because first he did not feel like killing Mangetsu. He was an honorable shinobi with a steel-resolved cause. 2. The vile chakra had receded and Naruto felt the signatures on the bridge relatively calm. 3. And most importantly he felt several other signatures arriving. He took the burned Mangetsu on his back. A lot of his skin was burned. Naruto was panting a bit as he finally reached the bridge. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said as he finally dropped on his knees. Mangetsu fell on the bridge and groaned in pain, even in an unconscious state. There are several people coming from that end. Naruto said as he saw a group of people appear at the unfinished end of the bridge. A short fat man was leading them. Naruto finally gave in and fell to the ground. He wanted to rest. He didn't hit the ground. The last thing before closing his eyes was seeing orange. 7 days later, Tazuna's house. Ow! Naruto groaned in pain. Kasumi then hit him on the head as a comical bump appeared. Stop moving, Naru, Kasumi said as she rubbed a bit more of the cream on his chest. Even though he was burned, Kasumi couldn't help but feel the toned chest of his. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Naruto said with a light smile. And you aren't, Kasumi said as she leaned forward and their lips met. Soon enough, their mouths opened and the tongues wrestled with each other for dominance. They broke apart a minute later as a thin line of saliva formed between them. Get a room, you two, Sakura said as he tried to feed Sasuke, who scowled even more when seeing Naruto and Kasumi exchanging tongues like that. This is our room, Sakura. Why don't you go to your room? Kasumi asked as she mumbled a bit. You know why, I still don't like them, Sakura replied, and after a light glare, Sasuke finally began to eat. His arms were still a bit hurt from the last barrage of Senbon. After Naruto had fallen unconscious, Zabuza had agreed to a ceasefire after seeing that Gato had betrayed them only after Kasumi had apparently given a shonen hero face-turn speech. Zabuza and Kakashi had cleaned house, but not before making Gato pay up Zabuza twice the money they were owed and spreading the rest of the money to the people of Nami no Kuni. Mangetsu and Haku had managed to convince Zabuza to help out with the bridge. Well, Haku wanted to do it as a sign of trust and Mangetsu wanted to do it so he could get a rematch with Naruto, who said he'd fight once the bridge was finished. Now the trio were staying at Tazuna's house and saying that the situation at the house was awkward to say the least. Hey Naruto, Mangetsu said as he came into the room. Did you take my Pocky? Why the heck would I take your Pocky? Naruto said to Mangetsu. Such was their behavior. They had nearly killed each other a few days ago and were now acting like they were friends. Even Zabuza's sweat dropped at their behavior. Suddenly Mangetsu was pulled away by the ear by Haku, wincing in pain. Sorry about that, the idiot needs to rest, Haku said, dragging away the swordsman. Haku-chan, not so hard, Mangetsu said undignifyingly. Women, Naruto and Sasuke said at the same time and felt the room temperature drop. Kasumi's hair was flowing wildly. Sakura's fist had veins throbbing in them. Both genin merely gulped. Then manly screams of pain erupted from Naruto, Sasuke and Mangetsu. Zabuza was reading Ika Ika and Kakashi was reading another edition of Ika Ika. Both had exchanged books. Don't ask how every Junin apparently has Ika Ika in their pouches. 5 days later, Park, main town, Nami no Kuni. Hey to-san, Naruto said as he sat near the white tree. His father's memorial site. The Kiri group had left this morning. Mangetsu did not get to fight Naruto due to Haku's overly excessive sweet smile that promised pain in the highest degree. The bridge was completed yesterday due to all of their efforts and now Konoha-nin would leave as well. I did it. I managed to get the bridge completed with the others. We freed this country just like you did. I am going to be leaving after this. I just wanted to see you one last time. I already took some of the ground from here. I am going to put it in the grave they placed for you at the cemetery. I really want to stay here and talk with you a bit more. But Kasumi's going to chew me out if I'm late. I wonder if you and Ka-chan had gone through the same thing. I'll try to visit you when I can. I promise. Until then, take care to-san. I hope you're proud of what I'm doing. Goodbye. Naruto got up and started to walk away. He stopped. He felt a hand on his shoulders. He turned around to see a silhouette of a man. It was nearly glowing as the white glow faded away and it showed a man. The man had light tan skin. He wore Uchiha combat robes and had a ninjutsu around his waist. He had spiky raven hair and was kindly smiling. Then the figure disappeared. Naruto blinked in confusion. He had just seen a man looking exactly like his father Genjiro Uchiha stay beside him for a moment and then disappear. He did not know what happened, but Naruto had shed a few tears out of happiness and ran towards the finished bridge. He had seen his father. Soon after Naruto left, a figure appeared near the tree. He wore a black cloak with red clouds on it. He too looked at the flowers Naruto had previously lain near the memorial. He looked at the memorial and stared at it intently. He had raven spiky hair and wore a mask. An orange mask with a swirl formation around his right eye. A lone Sharingan was seen clearly in the eye hole. The copy wheel eye looked at the direction Naruto had run off to. He had casted a genjutsu on the boy, making him see an illusion of his father. A perfect illusion, that one could even call a reality. I'll let you off this once, the man said as he once more turned towards the tree. I'll be going now. I'll visit some other time when I'm free, the orange-masked man said as he disappeared in a swirl through his right eye. Meanwhile on the bridge the people waved goodbye to the people who had liberated them. Team 7 consisting of Junin Sensei Kakashi Hatake, Genins, Naruto Uchiha, Kasumi Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha were leaving Nami no Kuni with smiles, smirks on their faces at completing a hard mission. They crossed the Great Uzumaki Bridge.